on, everybody? Welcome back to the Project Manga Podcast, where we cover Ayashimon, Mission Yozakura Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, and One Piece week to week. Back this week covering Weekly Shonen Jump issues number 15 and 16. I am your host, Eagle.
And I'm Mellow Yenis.
Apologies for the wait. Last week there was scheduling nightmares, and this week as well. You can see Nox is not here. So, again, just some more scheduling issues this week. So it'll just be the two of us. We got a bit of a hefty episode. We've got 2 chapters from most of the series here tonight. So, we'll try and just get right into things. As always, before we get started, we would ask that you guys take a look in that description box down below where you can find links to any and all of our individual social media accounts, such as Twitter, online communities like Discord, audio listening platforms to consume the podcast on, as well as links to support the podcast, such as our Patreon or our online store. Also, in more news this week, you guys may not have been keeping up with the Project Manga Twitter and polls and such we've been running, but we did ask you guys to decide for us which series you would like us to replace Dr. Stone with on the show, and you have decided on Sakamoto Days. So tonight we will be having kind of just a brief discussion on the series overall and how we feel about it. Kind of an introductory segment to the show that will, again, allow us to give our thoughts overall on the series and allow you guys to kind of catch up with the series if you want to be current along with us in the weekly analysis. So, with that being said, what a weekend jump. I mean, we might as well get right into it. We got a lot to talk about tonight. So, starting with last week's chapter of Ayashimon, chapter 15, Always Having a Blast. And this was a big chapter for my boy 10, man. I was loving this chapter because, as I said in the last review, I was looking forward to, hopefully seeing a big chapter from 10 and not seeing him get folded in this fight or try and bitch out of it. So I was glad to see him kind of nut up like he did,
Yeah, I'm really happy that the bridge was used.
Yes,
just
you did
like
call the bridge being
I
used.
Predicted. I was like, yes, he's got his little ceiling. Watch out! But
Right.
him pulling things from the top of the bridge to the ceiling part of the bridge and dropping it on Waku was fantastic. I didn't really know what was going on with that. I was like, that's pretty cool. I like that the mask enhances his abilities to do that. And it's motorcycles are actually pretty fucking heavy if you don't know, but they're pretty hefty. Getting those dropped on you is brutal.
I mean, just the engine alone is a few hundred pounds, if not high hundreds, maybe to 1,000. I don't know. I don't know exactly how heavy a motorcycle engine is, but I know it's fucking heavy.
Oh yeah, no. People can get trapped underneath it easily if it tips on top of you.
Yeah, if it tips on top of you, you're
horse
fucking
falls on
stuck.
you, it's like
One. If one falls on you, you're fucking stuck. This dude got 37, fucking 100 of them dropped on him. Oh yeah, no, it was 100. That was it was 100.
Oh man, no, that's great. I like Waku. He's like, oh, is my baby all right? Oh, not a single scratch. Oh, it's coming though.
Right.
Oh man, I really appreciate Waku being the device that he is, right? He's kind of emphasizing the idea that Ayashimon are supposed to be feared.
Yeah.
I really love his wooden fish bell face opening up into all those
it's like a
teeth.
tire, right?
Yeah, a little bit more tire-like for sure as he gets those little ridges on his face as because he's a burning wheel yokai.
The tread.
I like that his he gains the tread because he had this rubber tire looking mane, and then that sets on fire, and then the wooden fish part of his face gets the treads, and I'm maintaining the wheels. I like it.
Hell yeah.
I really like his display of aggression. Page 2. for Waku.
Yes. And add some human punk and a baby Oni girl to the mix. You'd expect me to be scared. A real Ayashimon makes others fear them as he's just flexing up, full mask. That mouth, like you said, opened up. He's got like the spikes. I don't know. It's weird how the tire opens up and there's teeth in it, but
honestly,
it makes sense.
It looks like tire gauges.
Oh, or like winter. You know, some tires, like in certain states, they have. Like spiked tires are legal. They have like studded tires. You know?
That's cool. Yeah, I don't live in a state that does that. So
Iowa, they're legal in Iowa.
I don't know.
I guess. Sorry,
to be honest, I don't drive.
Expose where you live. Sorry.
Hello, you'll never find me. I'll run into a cornfield maze, and
that's funny as fuck.
Never gonna happen.
Got him. Anyways. Yeah, no, I really liked also this
gingerbread man.
This flashback that we got from 10 on this old granny Ayashimon too, that he kind of was, you know, seeing out as she faded away because nobody really believed in her anymore, or nobody really feared her anymore because just of the kind of civilization, I guess.
Yeah,
encroaching more out into the fucking, you know, the boonies where they were still be able to scare people. And she's telling 10 basically like, yeah, out here you can't really survive because they have their lights on the ceiling and people don't really care about shadows anymore anyways. So kind of basically told him to go to the city and become a, you know, somebody's bitch, didn't she?
I mean, she was like, hey, try to make some work.
Yeah.
But like it kind of makes sense. I like that trajectory because, like, you know, people used to be afraid of the dark a lot, and like people still are, but not as much as they are nowadays because we have all these electric lights. Like, I remember Dr. Stone having this moment where, like, yes, that is a sea of lights.
Yep.
That is like an ocean of light in the middle of the darkness. And, like, that's safety. That's home, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. Plus, I like the idea that, like, in modern times, as like, communities modernize, right? Like, people leave the countryside more and more often to migrate to the city because that is where the jobs are. That's where the money is. And I like how the yokai kind of mimic humans in that way because they also need currency.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea that, like, hey, you know, money is the only thing that, like, humans still, like, believe in. So collect that, and you'll have the belief to sustain you. And I'm like, that's kind of cold, man. I like that read on humanity. That's chill.
Well, I mean, they're made of money, right? So he's got to basically use it as a ritual sacrifice, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
As she implies.
Yeah, because she says on page 4, the only way you'll survive is to use money as an object of worship for you to possess. Money is the one offering humans still give in this age.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, no, he ends up getting, like, a bunch of grunt work. He's treated like a shitty intern.
Yeah, which we saw at the beginning of the story. You know, we saw his boss get his ass whooped. So
I really dig it. Watching these people, he's just like, yeah, I remember that guy getting his head knocked clear off. You know, he's scared. One of the heads of the new Kyo organization, like, he's like, I really believe in Moruo, and he's just a human dude. He's just a guy.
Right, that dude did get his shit mollywopped. The lava head guy or whatever.
Decapito. Yeah. For real. Loved that. I love that Moruo is just like, oh, I'm being dropped by, like, such a height. That's the most manga murder attempt I've ever experienced.
Right.
Yes. As he just buries his fist into the skyscraper and, like, nails on a chalkboard, drags through it. And I'm like, you tough little bastard. I love that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you did actually call him doing that, you know, dragging his, you know, or at least we talked about it on the show, you know, the possibility of him, you know, dragging his way down the building. You know, we all definitely thought that was a for sure possibility on how this would kind of go down here. So
another kill secured. Excellent.
But yeah, it's Obviously not the most, realistic thing, but just awesome to see Mauro coming through, obviously.
Yeah, he's Marabito, so I'm gonna be okay with him just doing Herculean feats of strength at this point. Also, like, page 9, Kotan just staring in horror, like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, damn.
Oh, I don't want him to. He punched me? Yeah, I don't need that.
But yeah, it was great to see that resolve from 10, where he's, just thinking about Mauro in that sense, where, like, he never gives up. He always is excited about, situations that present obstacles, and disadvantageous situations that, are like manga. And so he's like, if he can make it work, if he can stand up in the face of these, threats and fears and obstacles, then I can too, I have to.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see.
He's like, it's not just me anymore. I got people's like pride riding on me, and I respect the fuck out of those people. So like, I need to step up. I'm like, oh, that's really cute. 10. I still like Waku's spinning ability. That's just hilarious. I like the whole like cross section of the street where he's just like, kapah and flip.
Yep,
like,
the hellish ground.
Yeah.
Although, why would he do this knowing the type of Ayashimon 10 is? Like, that just seems like kind of
he probably doesn't consider it a ceiling, right? Like, he views it as he perceives it as a bridge. Yeah, he's like, this is a floor. It's a thing. He doesn't really think about ceilings. And then he's like also underestimating 10 like the entire time. He doesn't think about like, oh yeah, like even 10's old boss said your ability to hide in ceilings is useless in a ritual duel. He's like, what are you gonna do? Hide from me? Pop out from me? Like, I'm still gonna, smack you around, go pa pa, and like make your head spin. So like, yeah, I just don't think he was considering
10 even a threat of any in any
way,
shape.
He was like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, oh, you're dropping my bike? Oh fuck. Like, it broke his concentration to the point that he literally dropped his mask and went sprinting for it. So I'm really excited about that. It was like kind of funny. I was like, because I like that he's panicked and then just avalanche cars. I think Waku's KO'd at that point because like the mask seems to like bolster them physically, and I think that like he was not ready for that like onslaught because his concentration was so broken trying to like take care of his bike.
Yeah. And I mean, he's bleeding from his nose and his mouth, and his eyes are all whited out like he's knocked the fuck out, In this last panel on page, or second to last panel, I should say, on page 19, 19, double spread.
I think he's been KO'd, and like, that's hilarious. Like, Waku got wiped by 10. That's great. Love that. Our boy's stock is rising.
I'm here for it. I wanted it, man. But yeah, I mean, I think that about covers things for this chapter and is a pretty nice segue for moving into the next chapter. Chapter 16 of Ayashimon, Only You. And we start off with the, the aftermath of this motorcycle waterfall. 10 kind of like, damn, I just really wrecked all these dudes' bikes. They're about to come down here and try and beat the fuck out of me. Y'all, I'm about to hide in the ceiling until this shit is over.
I mean, he knows what he did. Like, no, like, some people, like, love their bikes. Like, if you look at it wrong, they're like, bro, you want to fucking fight? And I'm like, I'm just getting, like, to-go food.
Yeah.
Like, get over it.
I'm fucking dead, yo. Bro, I'm just here to pick my food up.
Dude, I like today the weather was beautiful and like a billion motorcyclists were just running around playing their music. Like one dude had like some pretty good tunes, but the others are just like, dad rock kind of shit, like Buck Cherry and and like kind of generic country, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. So, that kind of leads us into the Mauro scene, which predominantly, is the rest of the chapter. So we start off with him like hanging from the building basically, and he's, oh, this is so cool. This is just like a manga. And Urara is like, yo, quit fucking around, man. Get on some flat ground. You're just hanging there. And I really love this scene from Koton where he's like, man, what a kid. Like, holy shit. I'll admit it. You're pretty rocking. And he's like, I don't hate guys like you. You know what I'm saying? And this just fuels that conversation we were having about, obviously we think Koton will be an ally at the end of this kind of confrontation here, that he will be swayed over to the side of believing in Mauro and Ten, especially after Ten beat Waku, with how much they viewed, with how big of a bitch they viewed Ten being, or as being, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely a feat, you know, worthy of respect. Like, damn, you beat one of my top two guys, bro. You legit got him. So just, I definitely think that we're, you know, being led along that road of acceptance for the gang. Obviously, that's, you know, kind of the route we thought it was going. That makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. But another thing I really love about this chapter is the stakes that are kind of established for this telepathic connection between Mauro and Urara, where he gets bopped on his fucking head with this stone, and like he's like, oh, that was close, man, that actually kind of hurt. And he's like, hello, yo, you there? And then we go over to her and she's like and we learn that we learn that like through this telepathic connection they actually share they have like a share, that they share the pain that they experience. So this not only establishes stakes in it, right? Mm-hmm. But like through that it's going to force growth in Mauro, where he's going to have to stop being so headlong in these fights. He's really going to have to be more calculated about the damage he takes and the risks he takes in these fights because of this. I really do hope that he learns about it. It would make sense that he does. Because, like I said, it would force that growth in him, and I think it would feel really good to see him grow that way. Because while it is cool seeing him just run headlong into the fights, you definitely want to see him grow into the more, you know, cold, calculated kind of I'm about this business type character, you know.
Yeah, I like it because like he is not aware of this going right now, but like once he's aware, he'll be a little more mindful because he's like, hey, you know, I'm protecting you. What's the point of protecting you if you're still going to get hurt anyway? But I do like that she's willing to take that risk, willing to take that pain because she wants him to win using her advice. And like, it makes it feel less like he's protecting her and that she is also in the fight, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like it lends her more autonomy, right? Like more involvement in the fight, which I think is really important because she isn't just a damsel in distress, and I think that like the way it's portrayed so far kind of keeps her from like falling into that like kind of boring trope by doing this. And I also like the touch where he's like, why do you care if I win? You know, you're gonna come out on top. And she's like, you're an idiot. Like, let me break it down for you. If these guys take over, they're never gonna let me live or fight or make my choices as the way I want in the name of protecting me. They're still gonna invalidate my opinion. Everyone's got a boner for my dad. Yeah. Like, you don't give a fuck about him. Yeah, that was definitely you're gonna be the instrument of my revenge. So stick with me, kid. Like, you are my choice. You have been chosen. Which I appreciate. Like,
yeah. And I also love the acknowledgement from 10 or 410 from Urara here too on like page 12, where Mauro's like, what about 10? And she's like, he's actually exceedingly competent. He just doesn't realize it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she just watched him drop like 100 bikes on Waku. And she's like, yeah, he pissed them off. It's great. We're killing it. I think the dropping of the bikes actually helps her disguise her telepathy because they are not focused on her.
No. Yeah, no.
Only Oboro is just like, hey, you good?
Right.
What's up?
And I love this plan she deduces for dealing with Kotone and his speed, she's like, listen, he's at the end of the day just a cloth. And if you get cloth wet, it's bogged down. It can't flow, as freely, move as quick. So basically tells him, head to this fountain in the middle of town. It's got like a big reservoir, underground reservoir, that if you break through the wall, you'll definitely be able to soak him. And obviously it kind of didn't go to plan. And I thought it was really cool that Kotone had that kind of intuition and sense to know something wasn't right. Either that, or he has, he obviously has a pretty firm grasp on the city, right? Because this is the city they're always in. This is kind of the city
like
they run.
he's also like a pro writer, right? Like he's the driver. So like him like crashing doesn't like speak to him as a skill as a motorcyclist, And so like him being able to stop on a dime and like the parachute, because like the parachute, like him generating a parachute to slow the momentum was like, I loved that application of like his unique physiology, because being from Iowa, I used to go to the Knoxville raceways, and they had like drag races, right? Like the high speed 1v1 like straight line races. They had parachutes that would deploy to keep them from like going straight off the tracks after accelerating so fast.
Yep.
So I was like, that's genius. Like he is a racer. Like,
yep.
I dig that.
And what's even more tight about it, that just like the little visual artistic touches, that his arms actually unravel and become the parachute. Like if you look in the panel on page 17 that's showing him from the back, his arms are unraveled into the parachute. Like they're not,
and not just his like neck scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love his like Koton's like mask design is like chef's kiss. I adore it. Like it's very Kamen Rider meets Beautiful Joe kind of thing, right? Like he's got SSS plus style. Like he's so fucking cool.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, obviously he stops short of the water tank, and it's kind of like a butt clenchy moment where you're like, oh shit, he realized what they were trying to do and he's not falling for it. But then you fucking turn the page into Mauro thinking on his feet, man, instantaneously just blitzes behind him, smashes the water tank, and we can presume that Kotone gets wet here, and that
I hope he manages to like grab him, like grab his tendrils and force him into the water or something like that. Like then it becomes like a slugfest, and I want to see that kind of like barroom brawl kind of thing that Kotone does. But like I also kind of want to see Kotone like use the heaviness of the water to make his fists heavier. So then when he whips and hits people, he's slow, but like he's doing haymakers, I want to see that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I cannot wait to see what happens next chapter. We can obviously assume that they'll kind of be fighting on a little bit more even of a playing field, because Kotone's going to be bogged down by the weight of his wet cloth. I'm not sure if the fight will span the length of a whole nother chapter, or if it will kind of end next chapter. The fight probably ends by the end of next chapter. And then,
I'd say so. This has been like a pretty healthy amount of time.
I think so too. So by the end of chapter, we either get Kotone beaten, or the acknowledgement and like mutual respect between Kotone and Mauro. Something along those lines, but something
also,
else.
Maruo's never talked shit before, apparently.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's just like, I just crush people when they insult me. I don't really say things.
You stupid head. You're stupid. You're really stupid. And you big giant stupid.
It really shows his youth. Like, how old is Maruo? He's like, what, 16, 17? Like, he's just a youth.
Maybe 15. He's really
Hey. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about all I had for for Ayashimon chapter 16.
Yeah. This was a really good chapter. I'm glad that like we got both of them together. It kind of like feels a little more fluid. I always enjoy double chapters sometimes. It's really nice. It's a treat.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and move right into our general discussion on Sakamoto Days. So I guess I'll let you kind of lead us into the discussion here. How do you feel overall about Sakamoto Days as kind of a series and the fact that we're covering it?
As an action comedy, I really dig it. Like, I'm a big fan of Yozakura Family. I'm a big fan of like Spy X Family. I love the idea of like cheeky assassins. It's like I love the dollar store bodega vibe that they get at the beginning of the series, and you're like, yeah, this guy used to be like Leon the Professional, like the
Yeah.
world's greatest assassin. And then he gets like married, he gains weight, he gains a kid, he like stops practicing, he stops killing because his family's just like, hey, we don't want you to be killing people, like let's stay married and like live a peaceful life. And he's like, you know what? I deserve this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he does that.
I definitely the series has grown on me. I like up until recently I never read it. Just because it didn't really seem like my type of thing, but it definitely has grown on me, and I also am a big fan of action comedy manga. Like Mission Yozakura Family has definitely become one of my favorites. Ayashimon, Masho was one of my favorites through a lot of the main body of its publication. Now I feel like it's become a little forced and campy, but overall, action comedy definitely is definitely a good genre for me, and I think Sakamoto does a really good job of balancing, like Yozakura, balancing the action aspects with the comedy aspects, and
Hmm.
and introducing like a different interesting format to it, where like you said, you have that retired assassin who is like one of the best assassins in the world, who's now kind of just like living a mundane life, working at the grocery store, dollar store type beat, and fucking just trying to take care of his family and keep his former connections from fucking
Going ape shit on him. Like I love the sort of like I like the double life trope, but I do like you see that in like superhero stories all the time with like Spider-Man and stuff, but I do like the fact that like his wife is fully aware of who he is and just like what he used to do, and she's like, "Yeah, but you're not doing that anymore," you know? It's a little bit like the other guys, like Will Ferrell, Gator got his
yeah,
gat kind of beat, whereas she's like, "Oh no, sweetie, I redeemed you," that kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, I really like it. I like the fact that he has to kind of like non-lethally take out, you know, his opponents and like kind of keep tabs on like the other assassins he's dealing with. He's kind of a gentle giant, so to speak. He's got big gentle giant vibes. He's quiet, doesn't say much, like he speaks with through his actions quite a bit, and kind of like a stoic, you know, hard assassin, but like it translates. He's got a stoicism to him. There's another main character. His name is Shin. He's a young assassin.
yep,
Admired the guy. He was like, "I'm your number one fan. I admire you. You're like my mentor. I like adore the ground you walk on." He finally like hunts him down, and the kid's telepathic. So like I like the kind of like comedy where like this guy isn't saying anything, but then the kid is able to react and make like respond to the jokes that we the reader are privy to, but like it's hidden from like the other characters in the story. A little like I like that element in like Spy X Family with Anya, so like having that in Sakamoto Days is also very funny. And like they've got a really good classical assassination world building in the series. Like, minor spoilers, but like, there's a group called the Order, and they're like, their whole thing was like, you don't walk away from the organization, kid. You know, they're those kind of peoples. They send people to like hunt down Sakamoto, and he's gonna have to deal with them. And I love the fights. The choreography is really good. The art for the fights is really solid. They use tech, they use technique, they use, psychological tricks. They've got, very flashy maneuvers, some really subtle maneuvers, there's really solid.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, something that went hand in hand with what you said about the Order. Like, that was kind of a really fun spot in the read through for me, was around chapter 15, when which is obviously kind of the time when the Order was, I want to say introduced. I don't know, I kind of read through quickly, so my memory on it is a bit foggy, but chapter 15, we get Nagumo, kind of interacting with the squad, and he fucking does some, like, sick, nasty shit, but it's also funny as fuck how he, like, pretends to stab Shin in the neck, and fucking is like, gotcha, just kidding, and fucking...
He's a player.
Yeah, and then he, like, kind of gives us information on the Order, which is a really good example of, like, how this series balances the action aspects with the comedy aspects, with the more, like, dark and serious aspects. So, overall, I think Sakamoto Days, like, definitely is a solid representation of, like, this genre and style of manga, and it has definitely grown on me, and I'm pretty excited to actually cover it week to week, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, no, I really like it. They have some like really interesting fights. Even the side characters are pretty memorable. Like Yuto Suzuki does really well in like making memorable side characters. Like even the throwaway characters that like people talk shit about, like they have enough going on that they're distinct. I like the character development that's been happening throughout the series. I won't talk on that really because I want you guys to be surprised about it. I think the favorite thing that I have about the series, this is a minor spoiler, but the way they use sort of like D&D thieves can't, right? Where you walk into you walk into a bar and you say like the passcut phrase and you speak in euphemisms, that double speak a la Sopranos kind of the beat, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm visiting my Uncle Ronnie. Oh yeah? Yeah, no, his health's not doing too good. How are you going to help him? It's like, oh, me and the boys, we're going to help him move into a new apartment. He's got a lot of furniture. We got to watch out for that. Those stairs are going to be tricky. Oh, yeah, it's the new place. It's a rough neighborhood. You got to watch out, that kind of thing. Where like, oh, I'm planning to kill Ronnie. He's got a lot of weapons. He's got a lot of boys, but I got a squad. Watch the entrances, that kind of thing. There was a scene in Sakamoto Days where they go to a video rental store to get information. They're like, hey, I want to know information about blah, blah, blah. And he's like, cool. It's in the action mystery section. It just came out. It's a new movie. Go watch it. And they use that to like, they portray the information as like a pseudo documentary or like in the framing of a movie as a way to like disguise and disseminate information. And I adore stuff like that. It's a little cheesy, but I dig it. It fits very well in the setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I had many more like non-spoilery thoughts to share on the series, but I think overall, like I said, it has definitely surprised me and grown on me pretty quickly, and I'm super excited to cover the series going forward, week to week.
Yeah. I personally like the fact that like Sakamoto is like sort of like the newer generation of protagonists, similar to like Kafka from Kaiju number 8. In the fact
older,
that he
kind
is
of washed up.
yeah, older and like he's not washed up. He's got the moves still, but he's still rusty. He's a little rusty, even though he's insanely capable. But like, he's an older guy. He's further on in his life. He doesn't have the same motivations that a young, up and coming shonen protagonist would have.
15-year-old, 16-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, he's no Maruo. Like, I appreciate that in a character. And like, I'm an older reader. I'm in my 30s, and it's nice to see that kind of story be fleshed out. And like, it's doing well. Like, Sakamoto's like sales are like pa 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 pa.
Awesome, hell yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that's about it for me on Sakamoto. Unless you had anything else to share, I think we can probably move along.
I just hope that all you guys watching us enjoy this series as much as I have.
Agreed. All right. Well, with that, I don't know. I think we can go ahead and jump right into Mission Yozakura Family, chapter 121, last week's chapter, Family Conference.
This was a sad chapter.
Yeah.
This was a really sad chapter.
Brief. Just the whirlwind of emotions from everybody was definitely gut-wrenching. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Go ahead.
Oh, I feel like, because like, this chapter basically covers like 10 minutes of action, right? Like the action of the dialogue and the family squabbling over like their split decisions on like what to do about Keiichiro. And I like that they are split on their decision at first.
Yeah. I got like, what made me the most emotional probably was Futaba, how it just right at the beginning of the chapter, she thinks back to like what Kyoichiro said and she just gets pissed and just fucking like, what fucking dumb shit are you talking, bro? And like, it's like, oh, he's completely gone. They're like, oh, we can't just rush after him. She's like, nah, I'm sorry. I'm going after him. Like, I don't give a fuck what y'all are talking about. I'm now with this shit. But obviously she, Mutsumi and some other family members calm her down, and eventually she kind of agrees to talk it over with them.
Yeah, Mutsumi's just like, hey, return back to base. We need to figure things out. Like, we shouldn't spread ourselves thin. I like that Kengo was just actually like, hey, I like that, because normally he's very laissez-faire, he's very flippant, and like a little bit of a brat.
Yeah.
But this is a rare moment where he's showing like genuine respect to Kyoichiro. He's like, you know what, man, like,
this is his decision.
He
like,
did these things for a reason.
We gotta accept that.
We should listen to him a bit. Even if we don't like it, we can learn more about the whole situation as it draws out. Like, Shion's response was also good in the fact that Shion and Futaba are interesting because like normally in manga, female characters are often portrayed as like very passive. So I like that they were the two that were like most go get 'em, right? Like Nanao was just like, yeah, no, let's listen to the head. I defer to their judgment. Like Mutsumi, like Futaba, and Shion were just like, we're making decisions, we're making calls, we're being proactive. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And I really liked that kind of soft subversion of gender within the series. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm a woman and I'm gonna be super strong, macho, kind of, that kind of thing. That's, hollow. But like this felt, driven from the heart and like felt in line with their characters. But it's something I did notice when I was reading through it.
Yes. I also like Taiyo too. Kind of acknowledging that even through all the shit Kyoichiro was putting through, he's never genuinely like with malice tried to hurt him, Mm-hmm. Where on page 5 he's like, how can this be? More importantly, why did he do that? Where like he spun in and like sliced the tip of Taiyo's finger. That just kind of like is a subtle hint of storytelling from Taiyo to me that shows like, even though Kyoichiro is on Taiyo's ass all the time, like he's never genuinely really trying to hurt him or genuinely having malice towards him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, why did he really like cut me there? Like,
It's interesting because like he's willing to run out in the middle of nowhere and just chase him through the wild blue yonder with Futaba. And it's like, man, Koichiro like really dragged you through hell a lot of times and made your life difficult for no real reason outside of like petty jealousy out of their relationship with Mitsumi and like, the feeling of being replaced in levels of closeness and the evolution of like family hierarchies, etc.
Yeah.
But he's just like, yeah, I'm coming, no hesitation. Like, Tayo's genuinely a good fella. But then Shinzo, he comes in clutch. He steps in as the third oldest. He's the oldest brother now, right?
Yeah.
So like, I love that he's like really immediately steps into that role, and he's just like, hey man, like, you're both right. I understand where all of you are coming from. Like, chasing after him is a good choice. Coming back and regrouping is a good choice. The wrong choice is splitting up, because that's not what family does. Koichiro did something that family doesn't do, and we need to figure out why.
Yeah. That was a slapper panel for me, definitely, when that sequence of panels, and especially the middle one, when it's all just a white, stark background, group hug, both right answers, but all of us splitting up is definitely the wrong one. He definitely wouldn't be happy about it, and everybody just has that realization, like, my man is spitting. And I love that Kengo and Nanao are both just kind of like grinning, like, yeah. And who had the dialogue about kind of Mutsumi's... We saw big things from Mutsumi this chapter, where she's kind of stowing her emotions in...
Oh, are you talking about page 8, where Futaba's like, hey, you're the head of the family. You don't have to stifle your emotions just because you're the head of the family?
Yes, exactly. So we definitely saw big things from Mutsumi this chapter about, in terms of that, where she's kind of, putting her emotions aside and really trying to be the voice of reason here and logic. Like, no, we really need to take a step back here. We all are obviously flustered, but we need to really calculate this and think about it and take a moment to decide how we really want to proceed with this going forward. Even though, like Futaba says, like, you're obviously, bullshitting, you probably want to go after him the most out of anybody. So yeah, that was cool for me to see. I like that. And I like that interaction between Futaba and Mutsumi as well.
Yeah, no, like page 12 and then page 14. I also dig like the white blonde contrast background, because for Shinzo in that moment, there is no background, there is no wider world. His entire focus is on his family.
Yes.
And like visual storytelling wise, I was like, yes,
slaps.
That slaps.
And the art on that panel, like, it was meant to stand out,
I mean, look at the definition on those pecs. Like,
yes.
My God.
And the hair, and like the depth and definition shading on all their hair and just the clothing they're wearing. Like, it's meant to be one of those panels that just fucking pops and does have that visual storytelling behind it. Where, like you said, that was beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I liked also the transition of view from 10 and 11, because you're looking up from like a downward angle up at Kengo and Shion and Tayo as they're squabbling as siblings. Like, it makes you feel small, that their argument is like escalating out of control, that they are being too big, and then you see them dead on from the height that they really are as children, and like they seem smaller in that sense, and like kind of showing like how Shinzo is like really like looming over them a little bit, like, hey,
Yeah.
Like, the angling off this is really solid from the author. Like, Gundaira just there's like a lot of little nods that like do well, because like even like when the kids are surprised by Shinzo, you can see them like looking up, and they do seem smaller, they seem younger in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely a good, another good bit of visual storytelling from Gondaira.
Yes.
Yes, Hitsuji Gondaira.
I always butcher the first name, so I just go by Gondaira, and I'm like,
It's just so many authors, I get lost in the sauce. Knox is really good at remembering the author names, but I just get lost in the sauce, man. It's crazy.
Oh man, I'm shameful when it comes to character names sometimes.
I swear. And we do still get the the good comedy bits too in this chapter, which is Yozafam, obviously, where page 15 into 16, where we got the group hug happening. Futaba's like, Shinzo, Kengo's gonna pass out. He's like foaming at the fucking mouth. He's like, oh, fucking, you're squeezing too hard,
He's
man.
physically the weakest out of all of them. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Futaba's like unconcerned. She's just a fucking brick shithouse.
But yeah, then we get the another great interaction between Mutsumi and Futaba, where she apologizes for being short-sighted, and she's like, I failed you as a big sister. I should have been more level-headed and not acting on impulse. So, and then we obviously get Mutsumi saying, I did lie about my feelings too. I failed you as the head of the family. Just like everybody saying, yeah, like, I'm sorry, this is where I fucked up. I apologize,
Yeah.
Just everybody kind of admitting their own fault in hopes of, leveling that playing field and really bringing things back to an even keel as far as the family goes, because it was really about to like get rocky.
No, I really quite dig it. There's their dialogue reminds me of watching like couples therapy, where they're focusing less on you. It's like, I failed you. I made a mistake. I am sorry. And it's like, it's a really simple thing, but therapists talk about like, hey, if you want to de-escalate a situation, use I statements. Don't make it about the person. Don't make the other person feel like you're pointing a finger at them verbally. You're like, hey, I'm sorry. And like the whole idea of like accepting responsibility is like, hey, I understand you're upset. I know that my actions and words made you upset, but like, I'm trying to do the best I can. I hope you understand, that kind of thing. And so like, it was nice. Like, that's a very real thing coming from that, and I like the kind of emotional maturity that the head of house and the oldest sister are showing.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, kind of really we end this chapter on a really good feeling note, where everybody kind of comes to an agreement that they all want to take a step back, and they do all want to go after Kyoichiro, but they need to do it in the smartest way possible. And we get the beginning of the mission, search for our big brother, and also another very fire panel at the end of the chapter that again has this really just stark white background, huge emphasis on like the detail of all the family members, showing that like right now all that matters to them is the family and finding Kyoichiro.
I like the soft Sakura petals in the background to like break up that negative space too.
Yeah.
But it's not ominous in the same way that those earlier Sakura petals were storming around. It's a lot less chaotic. It's very gentle. And I'm just like, yeah. Because like that sort of like tenderness being strength is, I think, important, especially in like a series that focuses on like, we are assassins, we are hardcore killers, but like Yozakura doesn't get like lost in the sauce of like edginess ever. It talks about like very human things and like fleshes out their characters in that way. I've got nothing left on this chapter.
I was gonna say, I think that's a pretty good segue into the next chapter here, chapter 122 of Mission Yozakura Family, Search for Our Big Brother. And we start off the chapter with this incredible color cover. I love the color palette, and like the Sakuras in the background breaking up that negative space, like the contrast of those kind of that pink, lavender, lilac, purple against the rest of the family on it. I love the fact that they all have like different hair colors. I don't know that I ever picked up on that before in a color spread.
I've seen it occasionally, but it's nice to see the direct contrast.
Yeah.
Like, I like that Koichiro and Futaba had black and white.
Black and white,
as
the two oldest siblings, yin and yang. Bro, slaps.
yeah, I loved that. I like that. Mutsumi, Kengo, and Shinzo have like almost, well, green's not a primary color, but like pretty solid standard like colors, and then Shion has like the light purple, and then the youngest kid, who is like a mutant who's all mixed up, has like this soft teal colors, and I was like, ah, like I like that he has like a little mix of cream, a little mix of teal, and like kind of like represents his like, fluctuating kind of state.
Yeah. I love Taio's red too, man. His hair just looks.
I never thought of him as a redhead until now. I'm like, dang, man.
I mean, I don't know that I would say
Whacking.
he's like a redhead as much as just like he's a red-haired manga character,
Would you say it's more of a burnt umber?
Not like the ginger, but he's really got some like indigo, like red ass joint, like
Fiery copper
red
top kind of
eyes
thing.
too, for real, yeah. But I mean, getting into the chapter, this was obviously kind of a transitional, feel-goody chapter where we're getting resolve from all the family members and their like specific reasoning on wanting to go after him and interactions they've had with him in the past that are their motivations, which feels really, really good. I definitely like this chapter, and I laughed my ass off at the beginning of it when I saw the first panel of Kyoichiro's
Oh, his room is just a chair. It's not even a bed. There's nothing in there. Like a naked light bulb. A naked light bulb. It is so stark. He doesn't even sleep in a bed. He sleeps sitting, staring.
All the walls and ceilings just lined with pictures of Mutsumi, bro.
Yeah, it's like a scary version of like the Homer Simpson, like Maggie Simpson, do it for her kind of moment.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I like the deduction we get from Mutsumi here. Like, yeah, he's she's looking at his schedule. Like, he's got like outstanding appointments like later this week and shit, bro. Like, there's no way he would abandon his work like this. He didn't foresee this happening like this, so something's happened outside of his prediction. So it's pretty safe to assume that he's not in a situation he wants to be in.
Yeah, and
maybe
like,
he chose to be in it, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah, like he expected to like take out everybody.
Yeah.
He was ready, and he did. He straight up murked all of them. Like, I don't really know exactly what happened. I have theories.
I don't know that he did though.
I feel like he got infected too much. By the predecessors, like roots or like Sakura pollen, and he's like, oh man, I am compromised. I've been contaminated.
They got me.
Yep. So, but like, yeah, moving forward from that, because like, I like the flashbacks of like how each sibling has been sharing like the really good moments, the like very impactful moments that Koichiro gave them, as an older brother.
Yeah, definitely. I love the Futaba one, where she's obviously ripping through this like other spy headquarters or whatever, and she's like, yeah, I'm checking with anybody that had, may have had a grudge against him. Like, I'm just whooping their ass. And she flashes back to her and Kyoichiro fighting against some people. And he's like, man, you're beating all these people barehanded. Like, you're whooping ass. And basically telling her, like, I think you could solve anything with brute force. And she's like, I'm gonna find you just using brute force. I'm running through all these spy headquarters, just whooping ass till somebody tells me some information I want to know. I love Futaba, man. I like those are probably that's probably my favorite character archetype in manga. Is like top 2 favorite character archetypes in manga are like the machismo delinquent guy, and like just the badass like strong martial artist woman, like like Bisky, Mereoleona, Futaba. I mean, you could, the list goes on. Just like that's my favorite shit, man.
Yeah.
Hard body women, so tight.
In the words of Spike, I like a lady that can beat my ass.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's your time, huh? Yeah. Oh man. Dude, Kengo in this one really took me by surprise.
Yeah.
Like, Shinzo made sense. His is very straightforward. He's a very sincere individual. Like, his setting made sense. Um, but, like, Kengo's, like, bit where he's like, you're hard to read. Like, you're genuinely hard to read. Like, we default to assuming that you're thinking about Mitsumi all the time. But, like, it's a little bit, like, hammy, like a bit of an act.
Yeah.
And I like that he's like, you know what? I do want to understand you.
Yes.
And figure out what you're thinking. Like, Kengo's doing the psychological profiler route. Like, I dig that. That's my kind of thing. I like the analytical characters that try to like pull a fast one and like get an advantage by just simply deducing and like having insight on other characters. Like sympathy, empathy, understanding of another person is a skill and a strength that can be leveraged in a lot of ways.
Yeah. For sure. And especially when you're trying to like figure out a person's motivations and why they might have done something, where they might have gone, all that. Yeah, definitely.
Man, it made me kind of sad. He's like, if you keep practicing, perhaps the day may come when you can understand me. And I was like, oh, that hurts a little.
Yeah. And I also like the Nanao bit too, where because he's obviously the youngest, and we kind of get a perspective from him where it's like, you need to watch me on the road I've chosen, because he influenced him and said, like, you don't necessarily need to feel obligated to do certain things for the family. Do what you want to do, and at the end of the day, because you're so good at it, it's going to help us, and so he's like, yo, you gotta watch me on like this road that not only have I chosen, but that you kind of led me down, so that was fun. That was I like to see that. And also what I thought was funny is that he's got a jar of his toenails.
Wait, where? Oh, Koichiro. God damn it. Yeah, he does. Oh, man.
On page 12, we get in the gutter,
now.
jar Kyoichiro's toenails.
That's
Nasty
so gross. The now is
fuck.
Nasty, dude.
Yeah, why is he nasty like that, bro? Come on. Collecting everybody's toenails. He's like, I gotta have these DNA samples, bro.
Well, honestly, that's so wild. Like, yeah, that's tricky, man. Like, and like, it kind of makes sense because like the Yozakura family traits, their main advantage is their bodies. Their body is seen as a resource. So, like, I think it's interesting that Nanao is so diligent on, like, maintaining control of people's access to their bodies.
Yeah.
That, like, people couldn't even go through the trash to find toenail clippings or anything. Like, there's no, like detectives, right? Like, could dig around through trash and, like, find cigarettes and then use that saliva to, like, DNA test someone. They don't even have that availability to do that. So, like, I think it's just, like, it makes sense in hindsight, but I was like, man, that is kind of weird. But like, when I think about it in like the grand scheme of like how everyone was so persistent on like getting like hair, blood, any kind of sample on like Yozakura family members, that I'm like, you know what, the jar toenails kind of makes sense. Still fucked, but like makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I don't know. The last thing we really got to talk about is like the last bit of the chapter here, where Taio's like, I can't really do much to help aside from maybe pursue this line that Kyoichiro kind of tossed in the water for me. We learn about apparently an interaction that Taio had with Kyoichiro where he told him, if anything ever happens to me, go to the Spy Association and tell them that Kyoichiro has brought senbei for the president.
Rice crackers.
So, rice crackers. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're delicious. They're like that, like sweet rice crackers that have like that little like sugar glaze. They look like yellowish caramel.
I've had
and they're like sweet. They're salty. Like they are like one of my favorite snacks. Period. Like I get like they're so good. They're a great party snack. Man, I'm really motivated by food right now.
Yeah, now that you say that, now that you describe them, I've definitely had those in the past. They're fire. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's pretty much this is all I can do. You know, hopefully this lead will produce something for me. You know, and so yeah, basically we get to meet the president of the Spy Association.
I loved his intro.
I did too.
His intro was hilarious.
At first, I'm like, okay. Literally, the first thing I thought, I'm like, okay, this dude is obviously important because of the hair. You see the hair, I'm like, this is obviously. I know manga tropes and themes. When you see a certain character's hair or like the way they're dressed in certain cases, you just know. So I'm like, this fucking janitor is not a janitor. I'm like, look at this person's hair. They're important. And then literally a couple panels later
Look at his
after
shoes though. That's the part that tipped me off the most. Whereas like he has like slippers. Those aren't even work shoes. Like what kind of janitor has that?
Yeah.
But I love the introduction. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a janitor. No one pays attention to me. I'm basically in the background. Haha. Gotcha, bitch. You know?
Yeah. Like even before
hiding in plain sight. Perfect intro.
Before I even finished page 18, I was like, this is the president. And then, yeah, we get this weird, like, you know, I'll call the president for you, tee-hee, and then kind of clowns him like, you're pretty unperceptive for a spy, huh? Kyoichiro's lacking. Didn't teach it too good.
You're a silver, all right.
And I like how they have the scar on the opposite eye of Taio.
Ooh, does this mean that like they will sort of they kind of already act as a foil, you know, like they're the experience, like even their clothes, right? Like clothes, hair, like it's all opposite. Their eyes a good one. The fact that Taio's scar is white, Kai's scar is black. Their hair and their clothing is literally opposite. The fact that like his hair is white and long, as opposed to Shai's like black and stuff. Like the fact that he's got a hat, but Taio has a hoodie on his shirt, that kind of thing. Like everything about them is
opposite,
literally
like a stark
opposite.
contrast.
Yeah. So like I want to see more of this character, and I wonder if he's going to become a mentor or a foil to Taio. I don't know what the relationship that Kyoichiro has. If he's going to be like a pure ally, you know what I mean? Like he's a spy. Like trusting someone's intentions that's a head of a spy syndicate sounds like a really dumb idea. Like I'm gonna be suspicious of this dude for a minute.
Yeah.
And like even Taio was just like, wait, what? Oh fuck! Like see his eyes like widening and like that like little bit of panic you see on the double spread on 2021.
Yeah, the sweat bead on his cheek, like
his eyes. He looks tense, dude. Like Taio looks a little shook by that.
I'm lacking. What would have been even funnier and like another cool just thing that could have been added to the thing is if like Buddy had a knife to his neck, like. You're lacking, bro. I could have got you just now.
But like at the same time, he's a spy as opposed to an assassin. So like I think that he's like, I've already proved I've beaten you, right? Like I've already set the stage.
Yep.
You got.
You clearly can't perceive my subterfuge.
Yeah.
That's funny as fuck. But
also,
I think
that area is spotless.
yes.
Like,
Oh my god.
on the floor. It's like ching,
Sparkling.
and like a janitor in all white. I'm like, bruh, this has gotta be the
Yeah,
thing.
like nah.
I
But
love
think
that, though.
I think that's about all I had for Yozakura family.
I really liked this chapter. This really, because the other one like kind of really set the tone, and then this one's really solid. I'm curious about what the significance of the code of like Kyoichiro sends the president to Senbei.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah.
What does that mean
like,
exactly? Like, what does that
Yeah,
let?
what's the
What does that let
context
Kai
behind
know?
that?
Yeah. What does that let Kai know? Yeah.
Yeah, like what does that imply? Is that like, oh, this is my replacement?
Is it more
I
for
need you to
Kai,
train me.
or is it more for just the organization in general? Because like right when he said that, they were like, "Oh, yep, go right up to his office. He's waiting." You know.
Mm-hmm.
So is it more for the organization in general? Like, hey, Kyoichiro, like let him know, possibly that he's like, hey, if anything ever happens to me, like I've kind of laid this procedure in place that one of my family members will come to the organization and like say this phrase. If they do, send him right up to the fucking president because he'll know what's good. I told him as well.
I think it's even funnier because like there's this moment where like he goes 100 floors, right? So I imagine he gets in the elevator and
He's in that bitch for a minute.
Yeah. He calls the president like, hey, you've got a guest coming. He's like, all right, I need to get my.
He's in a three-piece. You know what I'm saying? He has to get in the janitor's outfit.
Change, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna pull a fast one on him. I'm gonna give him a little testy test.
Yeah, that'd be tight if in the next chapter we see him like. At the beginning of it, he's behind like a dressing wall and comes out in like a clean ass three-piece. Like, this is what I was wearing before I had to scurry into the fucking janitor's clothes. Oh yeah.
What if it's even more casual? It's just like weeb shit.
Weeb shit. That'd be funny as fuck. I can't lie. Comes out in a Goku shirt or something. But yeah, I think that's about all I had for Yozakura family. All right, well, with that, I think we can go ahead and hop right into chapter 178 of Jujutsu Kaisen Greatness, Sendai Colony Part 5. And we get this nice cover of Yuta looking down at the viewpoint with his hand, kind of outspread, showing the ring.
Gotta flex, the fiance.
Gotta flex them. So yeah,
man,
opens up right into Rika. I'm like, oh shit, she's here already. Damn, Rika's showed some fucking speed this chapter. I feel like,
yeah, she's spooky.
She's fast.
Plus,
as fuck.
like, she's so tied to him, so it's like it's less about like physically transporting from the stadium to like disappearing and then reappearing to him. I feel like she got something.
But even past that, like she blitzed. God, I always forget what?
The black cockroach dude?
No, Kurorushi. She did blitz, but also Pompadour guy. I forget his name.
Oh, Ishigori. Yeah.
Ishigori. Yeah. He blitzed Ishigori. A couple different times this chapter. It felt like she had some good speed on her.
Oh yeah, she's speedy.
And she was giving out hands for free.
Nah, I like it because it's interesting that she has like this pocket dimension kind of thing inside of her where she like reaches into her body and like opens up this small arsenal. Big Elden Ring merchant vibes.
Opened up the Duffy on him, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit.
The inventory. That's a real hidden inventory.
Yeah, and we get the actual kind of monologue, the internal monologue from Ishigori and Uro. That's her name, right?
Uro, yeah.
Everything. He wasn't using his full power. I don't get it. His own Okotsu's own cursed energy is welling up again. They can like sense like, damn, he's getting this shit back. So pretty much, yeah.
threatened by that. I love that.
And then we
I like the breakdown.
Yeah, we do get kind of the breakdown on Rika here on page 4. Rika is Okotsu's cursed technique and can store cursed energy for him. Rika remained with him after Rika Orimoto passed away. While connected to Rika through his ring, he can maintain... While connected to Rika through his ring, the following is possible. Cursed technique use, Rika's complete manifestation, and cursed energy supply from Rika. So we were right about him being able to use her as kind of like a Hoover Dam of cursed energy. Store it all in her and just have her give him bit by bit, or all of it if it suits him. And then it says that he can maintain a sustained connection with her for 5 minutes, which means like what, as far as like the equipment goes, like that she can give him, or her manifestation, or like what do we think as far as that?
Oh, like the arm that she gave him, like the strap-on gauntlet.
Yeah, she gave him like the gauntlet.
Dude, he looks like one of those dudes from Tekken, like with the bionic arm, a little bit like Jax or whatever his name was.
Yeah, I was like, Jax is right.
That's cool, man. Like, it's weird. She's very much a storage type creature because, like, she has the arsenal.
Stores the cursed energy.
Stores items, all this other stuff. Like, I think it's cool, man. Like, she even, like, helps him put him on and, like, does sings a little song while she does it. I was like, aw, that's cute. You're a horrifying monster, but that's adorable.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
The part that I really liked was page 5.
Yes.
Where
the bottom
she rushes him, and you can see like such a cinematic thing that Gege did was make the blur in the foreground of Rika rushing, whereas like you can see that like that portrayed
she's focused on Okotsu at that time.
Yuta. And she recognizes the curse technique. She's like, snake eyes and fangs? Oh, that's cursed speech. And get him. Jump him. Like, I love that because he's like, oh yeah, I can't have you grabbing the air and like doing your tricky shit. No, I need you covering your ears so that, we can get you. And this is like the first time she's really taken damage.
Yeah. First of all, yeah, that first panel where he uses the cursed speech, like she focuses in on him, like, what is he doing though? And he's back there like, and I'm like, damn. Like, I also thought the perspective on that was fucking amazing and like super well done by Gege, like that artistic touch on the flow of things. And then when he pulled out the curse speech, I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, how is he using cursed speech right now? And then fucking, like you said, Rika and Yuta give her the fucking work, bro. Like, they literally did her like Yuji and Nanami did
against
fucking
Mahito.
Dude. Just fight back, motherfucker! Fight back! Fight back! Like, when this gets animated, it's literally gonna be like that meme 2.0.
Oh man. Straight up.
So yeah, she gets worked, and we see her take some like real damage here for the first time. And then we got Ishigori kind of standing back, like, y'all ain't just about to act like I'm not here, bro. And he kind of shoots a beam at them, and Rika just casually boom deflects it as she vaults
her bare hand.
Yep, as she vaults Yuta at Udo. Yeah. Just like casually.
The volleyball. Whoop. I love the volleyball bunt that she does to him.
Yep, the volleyball. Is that what it's called? The bunt?
I don't know. It's a bounce.
It's something. Yeah, it's a bounce.
I have to watch Haikyuu more.
A receive. Haikyuu. Watch fucking Haikyuu. That's the goated. It's goated for real.
Them sweet boys.
It's very good. There's like very good character development too. A lot of good character moments and like slice of lifey type shit. It's cool. But
I love Haikyuu.
Yeah, the flow of it where Rika, just whoop, bah, you can totally feel how it happens.
Dude.
And Ishigori's like, damn, that thing deflected with its bare hand. It might be tougher than Yuta.
Dude, I love like the zoom in on like
Rika's
nine, where
face.
she's like, that hurt.
Yeah.
Well, Bane, she's like, oh, I'm gonna get you. I like that because like they double down on Uro and then they immediately split up the difference to like focus down so they're not like left vulnerable.
Yes.
And Ishigori just starts throwing Ishigori around.
You mean Rika? Like, no, yeah, she says that hurt and just boom hits him with the haymaker. I was like, damn. And that was another thing, like, so we see the distance between them on 9, and then the first panel on 10 is him getting it fucking punched in his face. So like that was a moment where I'm like, damn, she just showed some pretty good speed, like blitzed him, you know?
Yeah, she's like a ghost. She got no legs. She's caspering around high speed, like
Right?
she's
And
gunning for him.
and we
That
see
was
him
a mean
fly
hook.
on page 10 middle panel, and then the next panel is her behind him. So like she's
Oh
got
yeah.
some nasty speed, but Ishigori showing that he's no hoe, turns around, socks Rika. I was like, damn. And again, like we talk about this all the time on the show. The flow of paneling and choreography, like in Jujutsu Kaisen, is like one of the strongest points. Like you can really feel as you're reading these fights how they flow, and you can read like basically every move, and it just feels so nice and just so clean, so polished. Like Gege,
hmm
real that is like really one of their biggest strengths, in my opinion, is that like the flow of paneling and the flow of the choreography and the fights. It's just like, man, so perfect, just perfect. I don't know.
Man, yeah. Like I like how all three of them are like really just like balanced. This is like a very much a free for all melee.
Yep,
I love that. And like I know
but
that
at the same
Yuta's
time,
ability is to copy things. Like he's like, if I understand how a technique works, I can use it.
yeah. So, um, okay. So before we talk about that, I guess we get a little bit of backstory. I thought it first of all, I thought it was really cool how Yuta was able to just pluck little bits of his hair out and like turn them into little mini Rikas
Oh
that like are
yeah,
little bats
very
flying
Monkey
around.
King.
Um, yeah, like big Sun Wukong vibes. People were saying that in the chat of my live reaction. And then we get the even more kind of dialogue on the rivalry between them as far as the clans go and the heritage. Um,
hmm
and we get this little bit of narration kind of here and backstory almost on Uro. The Sun, Moon, and Stars Squad is a group of assassins directly affiliated with the Toe, which we got before. Like when she was introduced, we got that in at least the fan scans, I believe. Like it was a translator note.
Yeah.
They pursue lives of selfless devotion and darkness, forsaken of the right to bear a name. So they have no names. They're like nameless people, her clan.
hmm
And we get backstory about how somebody like gave her a name to only to execute her as like a proxy for somebody that committed a crime. Which is
That's interesting because I like the fact that she like that's her backstory. I love that. Like I can understand why she has regret and she's like, I want a second chance at life. I was given a name only to die. I
yeah.
didn't even get to live a life with that name. I only got to experience a death with that name. And I'm
Mm.
like, that's cold. And the idea that she's a gear in the machine, she wants to like live her life.
Damn, so you think that is really how she died? I assumed, I guess, that she got out of it.
No, I think she got straight up
Damn.
executed.
That's fucked up.
It is. Like if you go forward a little bit on like page 16, she's like, you know, it's like he's like, I don't know what my ancestors did to you, but living only for yourself only gets so far. And she's like, shut the fuck up. Live for
Yeah.
others. You don't need to be anybody special. The only ones who say that are the people who've already achieved something.
Mm.
And then to me, she is like a really good foil to Yuji in his current emotional state, right? Like Yuji was a person who lived a life, forsook his life, and is trying to emotionally cope with everything that happened in Shibuya by saying, I'm going to be a cog. I'm going to dedicate my life to exterminating curses, to doing the job, making the work my like soothing balm, my salvation. And she's like, I've lived that life. She's like polar opposite. She's like, I've lived the life. I've been the cog. I have been the job. But I want to live. I want to be free. I want to be myself. And so I was like, that's very interesting. You know what I mean? Like it's a nice little contrast. And the fact that like, you know, Yuji is slated for death, right? Like he's like, hey, we're gonna give you this position, but you are eventually doomed to be executed anyway. And for her, she did her job, she did the things, and then she was executed. And like Yuji, Yuta's probably gonna kill her.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe, I guess not. As long as we're on this topic, people were talking about, you know, the possibility that they, you know, maybe join, you know, Yuta. Whether he kills them, maybe kills one of them, one joins, and we were kind of going back and forth with different prospects on that. And I think I'd like more if, because of their heritage and, you know, that like dichotomy between them, I would like more maybe if she was the one that survived and maybe joined Yuta and they hashed out their kind of resentment or her resentments towards Yuta as far as that goes. And maybe Yuta shows them that, like, the clan she hates so much, like, isn't all bad. Like, he doesn't subscribe to the whatever beliefs they had back then.
Yeah.
And they can kind of bring that to, like, maybe a little bit of a head and put a nice little... make a nice little reconciliation and put a nice little bow on that storyline. And it would also work well for Ryo's character. I forgot his other name is, you know, already. Ishigori. Because he's kind of keeps talking about how he's still got this hunger for more in life that he didn't get out of his previous life. And I think I kind of dawned on me earlier that I think he maybe hungers for like a good death. Like almost Kaido-esque, you know? Like he possibly is hungering for a good fight and a good honorable death, you know?
Yeah, honestly, there is a moment. So like, I love that he can like Ishigori. Like, I know that like Uro is kind of like a Yuji parallel to me, and I feel like Ishigori is almost like Megumi in a sense, you know, because like on like page 18 when he's flexing. And like they're popping off. We'll touch that later.
Yeah.
But like his like maniacal like look reminds me of Megumi when he's going into his like, you know, murder mode, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna go beyond my ideal self, you know, where he's like really pushing past it. And like Ishigori talked about like, you know, I lived a good life. I did as I was told. I lived honorably. And I see that in Megumi. Right? Like, Megumi's the diligent one. He's the responsible one. He's done things by the book. He tries to do that stuff. But there is, like, a raw, angry, animalistic part of him that slowly peeks out every now and again. Like, Megumi isn't, like, a particularly moral person, either. He's not, like, actively kind or anything, but he's like, you know what, I view these ideas, I have a very specific sense of like what is fair and what is just, even though it does not match my surroundings or the people around me, but I will follow that. I will hurt those that I feel are worth hurting, and I will save those who I feel are worth saving. And I feel like Ishigori is like a nice like what if, right? Like Uro and Ishigori kind of represent like what kind of people Yuji Megumi would have been in a past life. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They're not so different. You know, this world, this lifestyle draws in very similar kinds of people. And yeah. It's just something that I noticed. I was like, you know, I'm picking up a vibe from these guys.
Yeah, that's
it's not like, oh, this is a perfect thing, but like it's like, it's a nice little nod. It's a thing to think about, like dynamics. Man.
So I mean, I guess like going back to kind of where we left off as far as progression through the chapter, we then get this page where boom, 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 Udo gets cut, and she says like the trajectories of the Shikigami constitute the domain. Basically, she says like that Yuta is using Drew's curse technique, which people were saying in the live reaction chat, and I like this as well, that we actually do get to see a use of Drew's curse technique here. He wasn't just like thrown away.
I appreciate
completely. And then it's explicitly stated that Yuta's curse technique is copy. So,
which has been confirmed
initially
before.
this confused. Yeah, it's been cursed. It's been confirmed for a while. Was that confirmed in the prequel?
Yeah. So Jujutsu Kaisen 0. He does the cursed speech. Okay. Well, you really should also go see the movie.
No, don't spoil. Okay, the movie is 0. So I'm gonna.
The movie is the same thing. So like, watch the movie and then read it. I think is going to be the best way to do it, because I think it'd be fun. Either way is good, to be honest. However you consume it.
Yeah.
But it's quite good. And I think Yuta did it in the regular series as well. I think he copied Gojo's Infinite Purple at one point, where he like does like the Force Blast, because he does the same hand gesture as Gojo and then just pushes someone,
Yeah. So like initially this kind of confused me, because we had it stated like on page 4, Rika is Okotsu's curse technique, and then on later on page 14, Okotsu's curse technique is copy. So initially this really confused the shit out of me. I'm like, does he have 2 curse techniques? What's really going on here? But now, like, after kind of further thinking about it and reading over it again, also having a conversation, I'm kind of thinking like, and let me know if maybe you are thinking along the same lines, that like Rika is kind of just a physical manifestation of copy in a way, and even a copy of like maybe his ability. Obviously he had it before Rika. Maybe he in a way subconsciously used it to copy Rika Orimoto.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? And that's why Rika possibly remained with him after Rika Orimoto passed away. And she kind of became a physical manifestation of his ability that can do all these things for him. And I'm thinking maybe even all these weapons that she pulls out like could just possibly be copies of these weapons. Like these are cursed weapons.
I think it's stuff that he's like collected.
It could be that, or it could be copies if we want to think along the lines of her being a physical manifestation of copy that can store his cursed energy, copied weapons, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that a lot, because she was seen as like a sort of spirit that was haunting Yuta initially, because he promised that he would marry this girl, Otomo, the original Rika, and then it's like a death do us part regret that she died, and then that like his regret caused this new Rika to like haunt him, but he was young and didn't like have full understanding of what was going on. Now he's older, he's a little more adjusted to it, and he's gotten used to her presence. But I really like your take on it being his copy technique, latching on to that regret, latching on to like the haunting aspect, and making a copy of the original Rika, so that her personality is like a little bit there. Because we've seen copies of spirits before, right? Because like in the Shibuya arc, we had Toji be a copy of memories overlaid a corpse, programmed into a corpse to act as if Toji would. So like this is not the first time we've seen copies of dead people transposed onto something via curse technique.
Yeah. And
So,
it could, something that could lend to, earlier we're talking about how Rika is like singing and helping him get dressed and shit. That could lend to what you're talking about how she's retained a little bit of the original Rika's personality and shit,
hmm And it's been a long time since Jujutsu Kaisen 0, so like she may have grown as an entity, right? Through these new experience that she's existed, like as for the time that she's existed, she may be gaining a new personality and a little bit of an outlook, growth as a living thing, as an extension of Yuta, a living being.
Yeah.
Which I think is really quite interesting. And one thing that I quite like is that like Uro is literally flying around butt-ass naked, wreathed in like invisible atmosphere clothing, like like a real version of the Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah.
And like the thing that I quite like is that not a single person gives a fuck or like notices or like cares. Because I could see like any other Arthur just being like Yuta being like, ooh, modesty, that kind of thing. It's like, no, you're trying to kill me. I'm gonna put you down. Like,
Right, exactly. And we do get a little bit of rare fan service from Gege here in this chapter,
Yeah.
on page 13 with the cheeks.
Yeah. Like she is like, it's a very interesting way to go. It's like, not hypersexualized, but still like, yes, attractive, portraying like a noble body, and it's like, but even then it's still like treated as a whole person with their own motivations without like any like loss of agency due to sexualization. You know what I mean?
Yes, I definitely know where you're coming from there.
Yeah, so I quite like that.
But yeah, I think, really, we would kind of, although we got left to talk about is the last kind of bit of the chapter here, right? Where
the finale on
Ishigori,
1819. Oh,
as Uro gives her climactic speech, Ishigori says, shut up, at this point, words are pointless. And they all hit it with that Ryugi Tenkai domain expansion from all three of them.
Triple domain expansion.
Yeah.
I also like that the word bubbles are interesting because
yes, I thought this as well because I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Their speech bubbles like reflect the emotional states of the characters.
Yeah.
Ryu is living the life that Megumi wished he could because Megumi doesn't like overreact very often, whereas Ryu Ishigori is just like, I want to go all out all the time.
Yes.
I want to like flex. I want to howl at the moon. I want to piss in the street. Like I want to fight, fuck, eat, feast. Like do everything in excess. Uro is just pissed off as hell. She's like, my standards and your standards, there's a huge generational cultural disconnect adding to her frustration and like her, the fact that she feels like he knows nothing. How can you judge me when you know nothing?
Yeah. I totally agree. I think the bordering of the dialogue bubbles paired with the punctuation of their sentences paired again with thirdly with like the expressions and the art on the characters, all is super telling and like perfectly indicative of how they're feeling in this situation. Like you're talking about, we get from Uro and Ishigori very frantic border on their dialogue bubbles, showing that they're in a wild emotional state. From Uro, we have anger, like you were just touching on. Single exclamation point showing that she's just very, just like angry, riled up, and excited. Yuta's dialogue bubble, clean border, single period, calm, composed, just another day at work. And then we get Ishigori, obviously another, very frantic kind of border on the bubble, showing he's in a wild emotional state. But we get 3 exclamation points from him, showing that like he's very excited. That told me. And this really like
feeding frenzy.
This was what drove home the nail for me on like him possibly being like, if it is a situation where one dies, one joins, I think it's got to be Ishigori that dies, because he just seems so excited and happy to be in this fight right now. And I think that is what he hungers for, is like a good fight to the death, and an honorable death, or an honorable victory over a person that he deemed as like worthy for that fight, which obviously is Yuta. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would be almost poetic and good to see him go out like that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If that is, a correct interpretation of how he's like thinking and feeling. I could be totally wrong about it.
I think that fits.
Yeah, and like I said, I do also like the idea of kind of that reconciliation storyline between Uro and Yuta, that subplot. So, I don't know. But sorry, continue.
I think about like the way he's like, why can't I be satisfied? Where's the dessert to my life? And the fact that like the way he's like, I really like cigarettes, which are basically like he's chain smoking. Cigarettes are temporary, fleeting. You burn bright for a little bit, and it all ends up passing away into smoke. It's almost like incense on the wind.
Yeah.
Like funerary incense, and just like the embers burn out. There's a very poetic ending to like cigarettes in like most media. So yeah, I definitely feel like he's hungering. He's like, why am I unsatisfied when I'm doing everything I want to do? And he's like, you want a glorious death based off the culture of the time. Like, you were from the Heian period, when warriors rode and fought for glory, and a noble death was, the peak. Like, Uro, she wants to live.
Yeah.
Ishigori, I think he's living to die, kind of thing.
I think I'd be inclined to agree.
I really like the fact that, like, you can see Yuta's ring, and like it's reacting to something.
Yep.
In this where Rika, I don't know what their domains are gonna be like at all.
Right. Like, what does a sky domain look like? Yeah. Let's
unpack
this a little bit, because this is definitely something we got to unpack. So that's the first question, right? Is like, what the fuck do any of their domains look like? Because sky is probably the easiest to deduce. Like a sky domain is sky based. Maybe they're like up in the air or something. If hers prevails, that's another thing we got to talk about, how that's going to function. So Ishigori's curse technique is what, like the lasers?
Yeah, he has a move called Granite Blast, and he's kind of a sniper. So I feel like he's gonna create like mountainous terrain to like elevate himself. I feel like Uro's gonna create wind. There was talk at one point in like a previous episode. I was saying it'd be cool if Yuta's ability was like a wedding chapel, because Rika and he were, till death do us part, I'm marrying you, the ring, the whole thing. So I was wondering about that as sort of like an enclosed space, etc.
That would be cool, because I'm wondering, like, yeah, does his domain, is it gonna have more to do, like, okay, so like this is the best way to put what I'm trying to like pose. Mm-hmm. Is it gonna be more centric around Rika and the dynamic between he and Rika and their thing, or is it going to be more centric around the actual like copy ability? Like, because I mean, some people were posing in the chat of the live reaction earlier today, it could possibly be a thing where his domain is literally a blank slate, and
funhouse mirror,
and whichever ability he's utilizing at that point in his copy repertoire will kind of alter the aesthetic state of his domain, if that makes sense, or the functionality of it, what happens in it. Also, some people were saying, like invested in your speculation that it could have been like a wedding chapel. People were saying that in the chat, and like it would have more to do with Rika. I'm just very curious in that sense to know which it'll be more centric around. So like, what are your thoughts on that? I guess your answer would be the wedding chapel because you're more invested in it.
Initially, yes, but part of me wonders if it's like funhouse mirrors, like a maze of mirrors. Because he is a copy, he mirrors his opponents,
That would be
and it's a good way to like throw off an opponent's ability, like waste their attacks by having them attack what they think is him, but it's just a reflection bounced through things. I think it's important to note that like domain expansions are very powerful. They're like major abilities. I think Kenjaku once talked about domains. Old school domains
right
tended towards one hit kill type stuff.
No,
No, that's the
sorry.
opposite?
I didn't mean to cut you off like that. But just to clarify, what he said at that time, you're right.
Okay.
But he was saying that the newer domains have, I think, because what he was saying is that because of the evolution of cursed energy and cursed techniques, newer domains have become much more powerful and like are more aimed at that, like, a lot of them have that one hit sure hit functionality, where they have the sure hit abilities within the domain that are going to like one shot the fuck out of you, and like they've become much less common because of that. But I think what he said at the time is that old school sorcerers from the past, like domains were a lot more common and like less powerful not less powerful, I shouldn't say, but like less potent
focused
in the aspect of that one. Like basically the sure hit functionality wasn't a thing back then, and domains were a lot more common and much more based around the actual enforcement of the rules of your curse technique.
Yeah.
That's how I remember him saying it. I think people in the live chat were saying that's how it was as well. In the comments, let us know if that's like wrong or right or whatever. But I'm fairly sure that's what he said.
So I want to see how era affects how they view their cursed domain, their domain expansions. So if Yuta's is probably going to be more focused and have that surefire hit ability.
Yeah.
And then Uro and Ishigori would probably have domains that influence like terrain, so that like representative of their personalities, and then also kind of give them a physical terrain advantage over the opponent.
Yes, and that would go in line with the, more aimed at the enforcement and enhancement of their curse technique rules and stipulations. And I think you're right.
Like I imagine that like Ishigori's thing is that if he shoots like rocky terrain, it basically takes that cursed energy, absorbs it a little bit, and then explodes.
Damn, that could be cool.
So that, because like that's what I'm imagining, because he's like granite blast, like I'm imagining like a quarry explosion kind of thing, like in mining. And then I probably think that Uro's involves like the star, moon, and skies, like star, moon, and suns, and like is like a night sky with also a sun in the middle. So like I imagine like constellations overhead and lots of wind. And I think it would be interesting because it's a triple domain expansion, which means domains are going to be fighting for dominance,
right? So
occupying that space. It'll be all warped and pieced together and like mismatched.
Well, that's my biggest question about this, is that like, as far as my understanding of the cursed energy system goes and how it was stated when it was explained, this was I don't know how long ago, but when it comes to two domains being activated, two or more at the same time, it's literally the stronger one prevails.
Yeah.
So because we saw this really early, Jogo and Gojo, like they both activate their domain expansion, you know, Gojo hits him with the infinite void and like literally fucking blows his mind apart. And I'm pretty sure at that time, or you know, around that time, it was explained that like, yeah, when it comes to multiple domains being activated, the stronger one is just going to prevail. So that was my biggest like question about this is like, is that only two of them? And they kind of, is that only how it works for two of them? Is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm kind of like fumbling over my words.
I'm picking up
and like they
down.
left, like Gege you know, intentionally left out at that time the functionality of like three or more, you know, and it possibly is going to be a situation where they're all kind of, you know, going back and forth or fighting for supremacy or even all activated at the same time. Because how I interpret the cursed energy system right now, it's like I see Yuta's just kind of prevailing, you know, and I don't want to see that because I would like to see theirs. So I'm trying to find a way around that. Like maybe there was an intentional kind of from Gege just like leaving out of some information about the cursed energy system. Maybe we'll get a new functionality. Typically, like the energy system is very solid and we don't usually get like surprise introductions of rules to it. But I think in this case, you know, it could be an interesting thing to see and to make this make a little more sense and introduce a new aspect to it. Another thing that Knox brought up potentially is he was like thinking maybe we could get an introduction of a new caveat to the cursed energy system where in a situation like this where there's multiple domains fighting for supremacy, maybe one does win out, but then if a critical hit gets landed on that person, like theirs kind of gets
the
usurped.
Terrain rewrites itself.
Their kind of gets usurped and somebody else's takes over until they can maybe land a critical hit and it can go back and forth that way. I'm just trying to, like I said, find maybe a hoop to jump through here around my understanding of how the cursed energy system works, which is typically very, very fucking solid and does not defy its rules.
So,
you know,
2 points. First point, with Gojo and Jogo and Gojo, god damn it, old Volcano Man and not so old Infinity Man. There's an overwhelming difference in power. Gojo was like miles ahead, whereas I feel like it's going to be a little different in this case, where all three of them are relatively in similar positions, right? Like they are roughly comparable, I think, which can lead to a scenario. Have you ever played the game Psychonauts?
Yeah. So, sorry, before you continue, something else I just remembered that also factors into this real quick is that like when you're in another person's domain, it goes so far that you can't even use like your cursed energy, right?
It depends.
I believe so. I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but just continue. So you were talking about
I
Psychonauts.
think it seals techniques to a degree.
Yeah.
But I think that this is going to lead towards
it's
the
technique,
Psychonauts
not
thing.
cursed energy. You can still use cursed energy reinforcement and stuff, but you can't use your actual technique. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. Continue. Psychonauts?
So like with Psychonauts, remember when they were like fusing their brains? So like Psychonauts basically was like my original domain expansion.
I'm not familiar with Psychonauts, but like I'm sure people are, so just continue.
Yeah, so you dive into someone's brain and you visit this world, and it's like a little video game level based off their psyche and like their personality, and there's like bad guys and minions, defenses, mental defenses that like spring up to attack you, and like puzzles based off their like personal traumas and stuff. So I imagine that there's a part in the game where someone else's influence is affecting someone's mind, and so their mental psyche gets corrupted, and there's an overlap where like things are implanted into their mind, and there's like a mix of two worlds where they don't quite match up, but they're like jammed all together in this amalgamation. And that's kind of what I imagine with the triple domain expansion of people that are relatively equal strength.
Interesting.
Is that they're going to create one really muddled, chaotic storm of domains, and they're all going to have access to their techniques. They're all going to have access to the bonuses of their stuff, and it's gonna look like a little bit like an Escher painting, you know what I mean? Where it's like, here's this, here's this, here's this, like a collage of sorts, like a chaotic collage, a storm of domains overlapping each other, like a Venn diagram or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that could
And I
definitely
imagine
be
that it's going to be a very patchwork and very piecemeal, and then based on, this person is focusing or like hitting their groove, their zone, or not being wailed on by the others, they're going to be able to exert more of their domain over them, and then they're going to get focused by the others so that they don't win this weird like good, bad, and the ugly three-way standoff.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is going to happen.
Huh.
And we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically it. I don't know. I think I don't really have anything else for this chapter. What about you?
The last thing I have for the chapter is that like very few people were talking like, oh, Yuta's kind of like so, he's just strong against these guys. He's the first student of Gojo's that is able to do a full domain expansion. Like Megumi does a partial one, right? But like Yuta is this generation's Gojo.
Yeah.
Because Gojo is all about raising the next generation. And so far, Yuta's the only one that's able to do a domain expansion. He's truly a special grade sorcerer. He's earned that rank ability, even though his full power is a burst of 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So, like, I think it's very interesting, and I think this solidifies him as, like, the next, like, parallel to Gojo for his generation.
Yeah.
Because he can do a full domain expansion. Other than that,
yeah.
I don't really have anything else.
Yeah, I can't wait for next chapter, man. I'm so fucking excited to see how this shit goes, man.
I am salivating.
Like, next week is going to be lit. But yeah, I think that about does it for this chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. All right, well, with that, I think we can go ahead and jump right into last week's chapter of My Hero Academia, chapter 347, Inflation. Yeah, man, this
it's a killer.
My Hero right now, man, is just wild. So we get clarification on what like my kind of confusion was about what the fuck is happening here with Shigaraki right away this chapter. Basically, Monoma's like, I'm still staring, erasure is still in effect, and so they're like, is this not a quirk then? And Shigaraki basically says that this is simple growth, just my body on its own, the same way my hair and nails grow longer. And so what basically he says over the course of his dialogue is that this is the next evolution in human like quirk theory, that people will just be able to like grow their bodies like this at will.
Oh, like
it says the body must adapt to ever-evolving quirks. This new form that humanity acquires is the next step for a superpowered society, in line with the singularity proposed by Garaki. You people who sweep it all under the rug and shy away from the inevitable future couldn't possibly comprehend. So, like, yeah, what people were saying that he was saying is that that's the next human step in human evolution as far as like quirk theory goes. And singularity theory is that, because of how crazy strong quirks are becoming through quirk evolution and fusion through birth, and that the body will just evolve this way.
Yeah, and this is just one potential evolution. He's like, the human body as you know it is fluid. Like, this is just the next step. This is the new shape. I can generate this because I am the next step in humanity. The thing that I really want to touch on is, goddamn, that's a lot of hands. Like, Horikoshi was talking about how they're like, I love drawing hands, unlike a lot of artists, and that they are probably the most expressive part of the human body to him. I pity the animators that are going to be forced to draw so much hand
right
in this. Like,
Yeah.
look at that disgusting detail. He is just straight flexing
Yeah, and drawing
on
hands is known.
everyone.
Like, it's known that drawing hands is like,
A
it
bitch
takes
and
a
a
lot
half.
of skill. Yeah. To actually draw hands well. So, like, a lot of people can't. Even
They can't
professional artists.
handle it.
Yeah, that's something else that was really cool. I saw like right under the
Don't blame
hand
me in the
panel,
comments, please.
page 3 is that like what the fuck? Oh, Mirako. I don't know why I blanked on her name. Mirako basically has spare limbs and shit just on deck, which was super tight to me. And they're like different styles. Like her foot is different now.
Yeah.
The one we saw before
different.
was like a round, you know, with like toe
Soft.
lines, but this one actually has like, you know, spikes for the toes, and it looks different. Like there's a different curve and a different bend on it.
Even the arm is a little different, where it's a little blockier and less more like a satellite, you know, with the jutting sides, the flaring sides. It looks more solid. I think that's great. I love that because like she's a bruiser, she's strong as fuck, and like you're fighting the end boss. If you have your prosthetics destroyed, like with all the thought they put into this, I'm glad that they took into account her, you know, missing limbs and like made sure that she was going to be able to fight at full capacity, even if her prosthetics were destroyed in the process.
Yeah. Going into like a page 5, I guess it's basically them like, what the fuck do we do about this situation? They're like, yo, Midoriya radios in like, yo, Toga nabbed me. I'm requesting a warp. And I thought this narration / monologue we got, you know, from like the narrator and Best Genist on page 5 was super tight, where it's like Monoma can only activate one copied quirk at a time. You know, switching from this quirk to that quirk, going to get him, bringing him back, and getting Erasure back on is going to take around 10 seconds, which is not a lot of time. But they're basically saying, like, if we let him have access to his quirks for even that amount of time and all these hands are capable of his decay, he's literally going to kill us all in that amount of time.
We can't like punt off and like we can't shed fast enough to like stop that level of decay.
Yeah. So they're basically telling Deku like, we have our hands full here. You're gonna have to get here on your own, which is definitely a good thing, I think, just because it's not a gimme, you know. It's not an easy
exciting
way around the obstacle. It's butt clenchy. It's you know, good for Deku's character.
Yeah, it forces the villains like Shigaraki upping the ante for them and them having to take them seriously and legitimately and not be like, well, we have powers, we can just do whatever we want. It's, you know, it's not like Harry Potter where like, oh, I wave a wand and I immediately fix the whatever problem I'm dealing with. You know, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I really like this moment with Shigaraki on page 6 where his entire face is asymmetrical. And I think that's a nod to him and All For One still kind of sharing his body a little bit.
Yeah. Because that does look like All For One's smile on the left side of his face and All For
on
One's
one
eye,
side,
kind of.
and then Shigaraki, his like bags under his eyes, the more raw kind of face, and I'm just like, yes, I like that a lot. It's just cool. I love the little like artistic nods to that, and like even previously on 2-3, right? The voice change for him in the font. Like, he's like, the same way my hair and nails grow. He talks about his body. It's clean. It's, you know, composed. I think that's All For One's influence all the way. the way he's, very eloquent. And then
You
Shigaraki,
people.
yeah, he restates something that he said earlier prior in the series that he genuinely believes, and like you can see the font is like rough and gritty and kind of like how his voice was in the beginning of the series.
Yeah. A lot of his dialogue bubbles are like that now that you mention it, like, and the text within, like they have that that bordering and that font to them.
I love that because like even in the anime, his voice changed a little bit.
At what point?
I think around the time he started doing like
Yeah.
someone was telling me that like his voice got sexy, like they made his voice sexier. Instead of that nasally, rough-looking voice, they made him like, "Hey, hello, how are you?" That kind of thing. But yeah, that's just a little nod. I think that's just more of like the influence and growth of a series when you're trying to mimic a manga via anime. I'm really excited for this fight because like Best Genus, Edge Shot, they're very mobile. We've got Sun Eater. We've got oh god, what's her name? The Spiral Lady.
Nejire Hado.
Nejire, yes. We've got her. She's mobile. Same with Bakugo. So there's like limited flying. Mirko is like an athletic beast and like bouncing.
She's
off
running
those metal
along Best
fibers.
Genus's lines and shit. Yeah.
Dude, she's gonna like Tarzan, like surf, that kind of stuff. I'm looking up like. This is a highly mobile fight. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, definitely. And then we got my boy Tamaki too, of course. Sun Eater. You mentioned him already.
I love that.
You just called him Sun Eater, which I'm not used to, but
yeah, I'm bad with names. I know their hero.
That's his hero name. That's what I'm saying. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But no, he's one of my favorite characters. I can't wait to see some flexing from him here against Shigaraki.
Yeah, there's a nice little bit of levity here. I like the interactions between Mirko and Bakugo and how they're just fucking delinquents. They're just both fucking delinquents.
Yeah.
It's like, stay focused. You want some too? Your reply ought to be sure.
And Mirko just looks so hard, man. Like the half an ear on her right side, the prosthetic limbs, like she's...
Yeah, she's a straight velveteen rabbit, man. She's looking rough. She's so real. Oh, man.
But yeah, we move on to this, the Okuto Island situation where 200 kilometers offshore, they're fighting Toga and them on an island that Gang Orca apparently owns.
Yeah, this is actually a cool reference to Horikoshi's earlier series where Gang Orca was the bad guy and he ran in the Okuto Aquarium in that world.
Really?
Yeah. It was basically like a magical zoo, and there was like a magic rabbit that could like talk and walk. It was very Roger Rabbit, the like shonen protagonist. And there was like these magical animals that could like they were like, we're animals, we're doing things. Yeah, it's a really cool series. You should check it out. I remember reading it and I was like, I fell in love with Gang Orca as a villain. I was like, and so when he came back, I was like, yes, Horikoshi.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. Redemption.
Gang Orca.
It feels like a rave master kind of like recycling of characters, the Orkai 6 and stuff like that.
We got Moonfish making a return here in this chapter.
Fuck yeah, he's so creepy.
Yeah. Wild, man.
There's a little nod right here to the anime that, so, in anime, they did like their internships as sort of like a filler arc. And the girl in the sailor outfit addressing Froppy on page 10 is her like internship mentor from the anime. So I like that she's in there to like add that level of like canonness to the anime a little bit. And I'm like, that's a cool nod. I like that a lot.
That is
because like, I was like, she didn't really exist until the anime, and then I'm like, she's now exists in the anime and in the manga. That's awesome. Like, like Like I'm used to like Naruto level filler where it's never acknowledged. Like, will I ever see you again? No, you're a filler character. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, we basically get Froppy saying the shockwave carried away Deku and Ochako. And then Ochako's like asking what they say over the intercom. He's telling her the situation, and then Toga rushes in. And we get Toga saying that she doesn't want Deku to go. And then Deku's confused over why Danger Sense doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the climactic bit of dialogue from Toga that she wants Deku to be her boyfriend.
Please don't go, please don't go. I love you so, I love you so. Yeah, dude. I mean, we were like, everyone was just like, nah, she likes him too much. That's why it's not viewed as harm by the Danger Sense. And I'm like, yes, confirmation.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess the only thing I really have to say about this, like we can kind of pretty much just use this as a segue into the next chapter if we want. But like the art on this Toga panel at the end is like superb.
Yeah, she's so cute, and then like in the background, people are just dying, getting fucked up, blood splashing everywhere, and I'm like, that is the most Toga backdrop ever.
Yeah. It is definitely cool to kind of, just finally get this confirmation and her just saying it outright. And I mean, yeah, I guess we can just kind of use that as a nice little segue into chapter 348 of My Hero Academia, Unrequited, where Deku is obviously like reeling over this. He's like, "Did you say boyfriend?"
Wait, what?
But yeah, we get a little bit of narration about the Toga situation, the history of it, right? But also about One for All. And it says, Izuku Midoriya was the ninth wielder of One for All and the key to this particular battle. Since the advent of the extraordinary One for All had been the only power in Japan, no, the entire world that the shadowy mastermind All for One obsessed over. And now this boy was the vessel for that very power. He had encountered Himiko Toga a number of times by this point, but since she had never come right out and expressed her affection in words, he had never realized the way she felt about him. So, Deku initially seems very upset by this. Like, he's pissed.
It's really funny. I mean, he's just taken aback. Like, he seems flustered. Like, you can see him blushing as well. And he's like, because for all of his triumphs, he's just a damn nerd. Maidenless. He's maidenless.
He's not maidenless. He's not. We were going over this in the Twitch chat, man. He's got Uraraka. He's got Hatsume Mei. He's got the Fox Girl.
That's the ship, man. Those are the ships talking. Those are the ships talking, brother. It hasn't been confirmed. He hasn't gone on a date. He hasn't, said those things.
He got Toga. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he got Toga. Straight
man got
up.
stripes out here.
Oh, man. No, he's still a nerd, and he's, never really thinking about that. He's like, oh, he gets embarrassed. He's very flustered by it. It makes sense. But he's exhibiting a little maidenless behavior. It's okay. I'm okay with that. I just think that's funny because he's, a kind of dense when it comes to social cues, which makes sense. He's not the best socialized. He's a really chill guy, but not the best socialized. I think it's interesting that he looks like her first crush, and I don't know where that guy. I've seen that guy before. He looks very familiar, and not just because he looks like Deku. I wonder if he's from a previous series, or from a flashback that Toga had during this series, or maybe a one shot, like a My Hero one shot, because there was one where they had the 6-shooter guy, Snipe Hero. There was a one shot that he did before My Hero which was about a guy who was like like a hero tool salesman, and he gets saved by Snipe, and I think he looked that salesman kind of looked like Deku. So I wonder if that's also like a throwback to like a previous series, because like he's done that before with Gang Orca, and I'm like, please in the comments, please let me know if I'm tripping or if it's like any of the options that I put out there. But I just like, ah, man, he seems familiar, and not just because he looks like Deku. God, she's so creepy in that page 3. Like,
yeah, the art on that is like haunting. Just like that shading, that her expression, that
turning the nose into
that
like
malice, but also at the same time aggressive
looks very
affection.
animalistic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild.
I like how Deku is trying to like stabilize his mentality and be like, wait, what? Like, because even his like abilities like flaring up a little bit, like, and he's like, boyfriend, like a guy you take to the amusement park date who holds hands with,
split a crepe with.
And I was like, man, you're just a classic like stereotype romance. He's like, because he doesn't really know a lot about stuff, so like that's his view of romance.
Yeah.
And I think it's really funny that Ochako is like listening to that, and she's like, I want to do all those things. I want to do all those things.
I know. She's like,
I got my plan of attack. Storing that knowledge for later.
Hell yeah. She's definitely about to take Deku to an amusement park and split a crepe with him. Let's go.
Yeah. She's... Because, like, Toga's talking about, like, for me, turning into someone else is all about love. It's the only way I can feel satisfied.
Ooh.
And even though she's, like, being very provocative, saying, like, what do you want to do to me? It really shows how, like, there's that gap in her perception of things. Because she views, like, this is my love. If you don't want it, it's rejection. But she never really thinks about how do others feel love, right? She doesn't think about like, how would Deku feel loved? How can I make him feel loved? As opposed to this very one-sided, nearly parasocial like attachment to another person. Like, this is my love. It's like very, very one-sided form of affection. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very interesting, and I think that's her true flaw, is that like she can't prioritize another person's like the way that they also are loved. She can't reconcile both those things together, so she chooses the one. And any denial or saying like, no thank you, I'll pass from getting stabbed, is like a rejection of her, and then she lashes out because of that feeling of rejection.
Yeah, I think that definitely could be. You could be onto something with that.
Yeah, like he tries to relate to her. It's like, hey man, like, I wanted to be All Might forever. Like, I get it, but I would never want to hurt someone I love. And she's just kind of saddened by the fact, like, that is the right response. That's the normal, culturally accepted response. But that's just not me.
Yeah, and then, especially that, I think you're onto that. That's what she thought in that moment, because she does think back to people, kind of scolding her, like, why can't you just be normal?
Mm-hmm. Or, like, how sad, like, she's, like, being pitied, and she's like, I fucking hate being pitied. And that moment where her eyes harden, and she goes into, like, that eye of the tiger, the thrill of the hunt kind of thing. Because she does that mode where she's like, I'm going to cold-bloodedly kill everyone here. Mm-hmm. She did that in the Paranormal Liberation front arc a time or two. So, like, it's nice to see that. She's really living up to the name Toga, being a tiger like that. And there's this little thing here at the top of 7 where both Deku and Uraraka are like thoughts of Himiko Toga popped into my head, and I think they're having like a little brain blast of like understanding her
Yeah.
and like really reaching like there. I feel like there's still like this level where they might try to pull like a Lady Nagant kind of thing. It's like, hey, we don't really want to fight you. We don't really want to reject you. But you gotta like meet us halfway or something, you know?
Yeah.
And like maybe kind of reconcile the differences in the way they feel love.
Yeah.
But then her equipment just detaches. Didn't know that was happening. That's cool as fuck. Like little rocket propelled sharp objects.
Oh yeah,
to
no, yeah.
drain.
She's got the propelled syringes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool as fuck. Like I remember her like equipment when it was first shown off in like the training arc when like W and Twice were first introduced in the forest fire and the campgrounds and stuff, like in Muscular and stuff. I remembered all that stuff. This is the first time I've ever seen her equipment just like detach and fly off, trying to like seek for blood.
Yeah.
Very grasping.
I think that's actually how she ended up getting Uraraka's blood, was with the flying syringe. But the dialogue we get from her on 7 there at the bottom, you know, you think that heroes and those that they protect are the only ones who count as real people. So people like you and I are destined to remain apart. I think that we know, you know, from Deku's interactions with certain villains that this isn't true. So I think since he's, you know, leaving, obviously Uraraka will you know, be the one to show her that that isn't necessarily true, you know. Because we did get the bit of dialogue from Uraraka and Deku that about Toga, like they kind of do want to save her. If I kind
They
of
really do. Because like on page 9 in the double spread, you know, Ochako was saying like, hey, ever since that we met that day, I've been thinking hard about you. But like she's resolved herself. Like look at the font in which she's saying, right? Like, you haven't been on my mind, not anymore. I thought maybe I had a shot with Izuku, but nope, I'm all over that now. You know, she's trying to convince herself.
Yeah.
And she mimics Shigaraki's words. The world rejected me, so I reject the world.
Yep.
And she's using the same font that he does when he speaks about hating the world.
Yeah.
So she's like, you know, she's steeled herself. She's trying to focus herself. Maybe lying to herself a little bit. She's like, nope, I'm all over it. I just got rejected immediately. Nope, I'm shutting down. It's a little bit like God, those dudes that shoot their shot on like social media, and the girl's just like, ugh, no, and then he's like, you were ugly anyway, bitch. Like that kind of energy. That's what I'm feeling from Himiko. I'm just like, I don't feel like you're over it. Like little mad. And like you can even tell because like if you go back to 6 and 7 on 7, you see this little lightning bolt go off, and I think that's the transition from like her attacks were being driven by genuine affection, whereas
Danger
because
Sense.
of this rejection, she's attacking with malice.
And now Danger Sense is active. They were saying that in the live reaction chat as well, that gutter is indicative of Danger Sense.
I think so. Man. Also, Froppy just drop kicking.
Drop kick the fuck out of Toga was tight as fuck. As she's about to say, I was sure you'd understand me. After all, you and I fell for the same person.
Sorry, can't out your secret that Weasley.
Nah. But
also, like that. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Also that.
I like that. I just really enjoy the fact that like Suyu's there. Like she and Ochako were the first people that Toga interacted with, period, in the series. And it's fitting that like they're kind of bookending probably the end of her in this series. Like it's a nice full arc. I like that little circle back.
Nice bow on top of the story arc, the subplot, the Toga storyline. So yeah, Froppy comes in, like, basically says, listen, like, last thing you need to be doing here is talking about romance and bullshit here, Deku. Like, get going, we'll handle this shit.
She's so cold.
Right, yeah, she is. She's cold and calculated. She's known to be.
She's the no-nonsense friend.
No nonsense.
Talk shit to people's face. Like, she'll talk shit to Bakugo in his face. Like, yeah, no wonder you're unpopular. Like,
right.
What a dickhead. He's like, what? Yeah, just see? Always overreacting. Jeez.
Right. Yeah, we get this nice interaction between Deku and Uraraka, where she says, Deku, get Shigaraki. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? And then he thinks back to, I think this is Ochako's dialogue. I guess both of us are kind of weird.
I think this might be, it's either Ochako or Toga. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I don't remember off the top of my head. Like, it doesn't, like, ping anything for me in the memories. If you guys in the comments would be kind enough to, like,
I think maybe that was her dialogue to Deku when they were talking about Toga. She was talking about Toga and saying, I guess both of us are kind of weird. Maybe it's him, like, the light bulb moment because of what Toga was just saying, like, does she like me?
I don't think he's focusing on that, because even Suyu is like, don't focus on romance, focus on the job ahead.
Right.
Like, maybe he'll come to a realization later, but, like, he's, like, stealing his resolves. Like, I hate leaving you guys here with unresolved work, like, fighting the battle for me, but, like, I do need to go.
Yeah.
You know, he's resolving himself as well. And then, is he straight up running on the surface of the water?
Yep.
Dude, that's cool.
That's
like
wrong.
A little bit of float, a little bit of speed. I like that. That's really cool.
That's raw as fuck. So yeah,
he's our modern Jesus for sure.
He's gonna blitz right to the island. I think I'd like to see this subplot wrapped up, the Toga stuff, and then maybe we get this like wrapped up, and then at the end of next chapter, after this is wrapped up, we get a shift to Deku while he's like running the last bit of it, thinking like about, you know, oh, how's it going here? You know, I don't even know. I can't communicate with him. And then as he pulls up to like it's a bad situation, and that's gonna be like kind of the end of next chapter.
Yeah.
I think that's how I'd like to see things flow, but we could definitely maybe just shift right to, a lot of people want Deku to get his I am here moment. You know, climactic, like, comes out of nowhere. So, I mean, a lot of people, I think, wanted to shift to the Shigaraki situation and then have him show up, you know, unexpectedly. Or, you know, we obviously expect him to, but, you know.
I mean, I feel like we're going to wrap up the Toga stuff. You're going to have the beginning of All for One and Dabi versus Shoto and Todoroki, right? Like, these are going, like, he's traveling, he's got time, he's going to be off screen for a while. They're going to have the Dabi stuff, they're going to have the Endeavor stuff, and then once all that's wrapped up, or they start bouncing between AFO and Shigaraki in equal measure, then we can have the boom, I am here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's the trajectory this is gonna go.
Yeah, that could
but
definitely.
Like, Toga's stance on the last page 13, like, she looks so cold in this one.
Yeah, she looks tight.
It's great.
It's so hard to live being me, even though I'm full of all this love.
All this love. That's a creepy line. I love it. She's terrifying. Like, I love Himiko Toga. She's a fucking great character.
I agree. But I think that's about all I had for this chapter of My Hero.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and jump right into the last chapter of the night, the Piece de Resistance, chapter 1043 of One Piece. Wa last week's chapter. It was on break this week, so yeah. Let's Face Death Together is the name of the chapter, and we get cover story. An Emotionless Excursion, Volume 7, arrived at Whole Cake Island. And we have the castle still cut down. We got Oven and Brule carrying the book with Yonji and Niji in it into Whole Cake Island to the prisoner jail. But I'm curious about the group of people that's in front of them and like what they're doing, who they are, what they're on and shit. I don't know. I'm just curious because of the question mark in the last cover story. I don't know. I think somebody's about to try and break them out. But not to spend too much time on that. We obviously start the chapter with Kaido bopping Luffy on his shit. Luffy's knocked out. We get Momo saying, I can't hear Luffy's voice anymore.
I like the balloon aspect of him, where he's just jacked, and then because he's unconscious, all that air that's inside his body just zips out, and he goes up in the air like a balloon and lands the next page.
Yeah. Bop just slams on the ground, and Kaido's like visually upset.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the narration, Battle on the Roof of the Skull Dome, winner, Kaido, King of the Beasts. And I love how he literally is just like, looks at the CP0 dude, and he's like, so you're prepared for what happens next. And he just fucking tips his hat, and Kaido says,
Here comes the boom.
Destroyed his ass, bro.
And then the other CP guy probably is like watching and just tips his hat as well. I think that was like the hat tips like a goodbye to his fellow agent.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not dodging this shit. He's too mad. Like,
yeah, that could be true for sure. Yeah, that's man. But yeah, Kaido definitely hella upset that he got his honorable, fight robbed from him a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically it's chaos inside the castle. Like the ceiling is collapsing now that Kaido did that shit, and everything's on fire. They're all trying to run away. And Kaido comes down in his dragon form like, Brah, I'm down here now, bitch. Like, bring Momo to me. I need his surrender. Luffy's dead. Anyone else trying to get this smoke, I'm right here. What's up? And everybody's, having different reactions to it. Obviously, people on his allied side are like, good shit, Kaido. We knew it. Everybody else is like, I don't know, except for Law saying also he can sense the voice of all things. He's like, oh, his voice vanished. And I love the resolve that we get from Nami here, She's like, she's upset, but obviously she's in disbelief. And she's japping at Kaido.
She's her ride or die.
She's japping at Kaido, bro. She's like, quit lying, bro. I don't believe you. You ain't shit. Ain't no way you beat my guy.
You're shady as fuck. Like, I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Trying to break our spirits. Nothing can break Luffy. No.
She's talking shit dude. Like, oh, it was a short-lived dream.
You can see that Law's a pessimist. Like, man, this was good. Where, like, I like how it was like, at least one of you still had moxie. And it's like, you're a liar. You ain't shit. And then he tries to blast her. Marco's there. Save the day a little bit.
Yep. Marco comes in, blocks the blast breath with his Phoenix Fire. Basically tells him, like, don't lose your composure. Not before it's all over. Like, fight to the last. You know what I'm saying? We're here at this point. Don't give up.
Yeah, it ain't over till it's over. And, like, let's be honest, like, giving, like, Yamato was talking about it as, like, giving up is the ultimate loss, because Kaido is like telling us like, man, like I'm gonna enslave everybody. I'm gonna kill everybody. I'm gonna enslave everybody, and that's just another slower form of death. Like, and he's like, that's what happens when you lose a war. And I'm like, damn, he's cold-blooded. He doesn't care about it.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Like, the speech he gave, on 10 and 11 was, oh, man, just powerful. Onigashima will soon land upon the flower capital as originally planned. Unlike Orochi, I am no pushover. This entire country is one gigantic weapons factory. Women, children, I'll use them all. Everyone here is a slave. When you tire and fall apart, you'll simply die. It's all your life is worth. And there are always more replacements. You dared fight back against me and you have earned my wrath. This is what it means to lose a war. Dude, the cost of your defeat is freedom and hope. Like,
yeah. People are always talking about like, oh, One Piece isn't political. It's just a funny little series. I'm like, it has politics baked into its world building. Like, just because y'all don't want to like, I don't know, stretch your brain a little bit, don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he is the tyrant. He's a dragon hoarding wealth and like power to himself. He's a tyrant, and tyrants don't deserve mercy.
Yeah,
that's been a core part of One Piece since the beginning. Those who abuse and use others they, by doing so, they give up their right to peace.
Yeah. So yeah, we basically, we get Kaido saying, bring Momo to me. Battle ain't over till I deal with him. Some random, like, fucko beast pirates trying to, like, take down Law and Kid. They're getting defended by their crewmates and shit. Kind of going through a little bit more of this chaos throughout the castle. People just, like, moving and grooving, trying to run away from, like, rubble and fire and all kinds of shit. Weird that both Kid and Law kind of said they were like totally out of energy and unable to use any more of their powers, and they both just get up and start doing it again. But that was cool to see the resolve from them. No surrender, no going out without a peep. Kid is like, nah, G, I'm not. I'd rather die fighting.
Yeah, I mean, Kaido is literally given every single one of them like, you have no reason to give up. There's nothing good in giving up. Stopping, you might as well just fight until you die. Like, he's cornered them. He's mentally cornered them. Hardcore.
Yeah. And what were you gonna say?
Yeah, like, even like Yamato and Momo have that conversation where it's just like, no, like, there's no point in survival.
Living a life of servitude and slavery,
Counting down the days to death. Surrender is not the same as salvation. This is what the daimyo from all over Wano did, and when they gave their lives fighting back against Orochi. The last 20 years of Wano is writing upon this battle. If you are going to let it go to waste, then let us face death together.
Yes.
And like, I love that she is the catalyst to like stealing his resolve to be a true dragon, a true, king.
Yep. And then that moves us into the last bit of the chapter here, I guess, where Zunisha talks to Momonosuke. We get, panels of Luffy. Ba-bump. His heart starts back up. And or maybe not starts back up. Maybe we just like hear it beat. Maybe it never stopped. But Zunisha says, Momonosuke, I can hear it. How long it's been. What is it, Zunisha? I hear the drums of liberation. For the first time in 800 years, he is here. Who is? Joy Boy has returned. And we get a panel of Luffy, all
melty
and gooey. So obviously this correlates with the gum fruit. Being a fruit of a different name, that has not been awakened in 800 years. We can obviously assume this is Joy Boy's past fruit. We know through, via the Marimar no Mi that fruit users' will is kind of, inherited through eating that fruit. Like we've gotten dialogue from Sabo about, oh, Ace feels this way, so I had no choice in burning your bitch ass. So we know that the will of the previous user is kind of inherited when eating this fruit. We don't know that there has not been another user since Joy Boy in between him and Luffy. It could be, I guess, presumed, since the government was kind of protecting it. Maybe Shanks was the first person to get it away from him.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case. Like, is it truly the gum gum fruit? Because they were talking about how they changed the name of the fruit to hide its true nature.
Exactly.
So, what exactly is the gum gum fruit? Like, what is it really?
People are thinking maybe it's like the resin fruit, resin or something like that. Because
because rubber is made from sap, and so is resin. So it might be like the sap fruit.
Sap was something I thought as well, and that has been speculated upon on the internet and stuff like that. I'm trying to find,
because that tracks. That's kind of cool though. Like that's like almost like a Jurassic Park like reincarnation. Like it's trapped in sap and resin, like those like mosquito fossils.
Yep.
And so like he's coming back.
So
I was wondering if Zunisha is like to blame, like part of the catalyst of this transformation, because he has the same eyes as like Luffy's dead eyes. And then his eyes glow as Joy Boy is returning.
Yeah.
So does like Zunisha have like a soul-based ability?
She's tied to Joy Boy. It's implied that Joy Boy is the one who kind of gave her the command to walk around. So I found this picture I saved because it pertains to the fruit situation. So they're saying the resin devil fruit, the Jushi no Mi, and the fruit awakened in chapter 1043, obviously. And 10 is Ju, 4 is she, and then 3 is me, which can also be fruit, obviously. We know that Oda's a sucker for number patterns. He uses them often in the series, so that tracks, definitely.
He loves codes.
And they're saying another point in this, I won't really go too far. There's some other stuff that references like some of Oda's favorite scenes in the series and some other shit, but basically they're saying resin properties fit with Luffy's devil fruit power. Resin is a chemical compound isolated from plants or animals in nature. Resin has an amber state where it's stretchy, Luffy's base form. Resin becomes soft upon heating. Gear 2, resin burns with a smoky flame when ignited. Red attacks like Gear Red Hawk and shit. Resin can be hardened. Gear 4, and resin is also an insulator. Epoxy resins are widely used as insulators, so that tracks as far as the NL situation goes.
Okay, you know what? That tracks. I like that. I like that a lot because like they're both plant products.
Mm-hmm.
So like sap fruit for me, like that's where I'm at. But like yeah, resin works as well. Because I mean resin is just another word for sap. It's a synonym. That's crazy. Do you think that this is because like even Kaido was just like, you're not Joy Boy. I thought you were him. Like the reincarnation thing. So like even Kaido thought he was. But then I wonder if like Zunisha is waiting for like the right conditions, right? Because like Onigashima is going through, like the flower capital is having this celebration, there's drums, the taiko sticks and all that stuff. The fact that there is like this war on Onigashima going on and the stakes are enslavement. So the drums of liberation. might be kind of like these area conditions are met, and then that restarts Kaido, like not restarts Luffy's heart, and his heart is like the drum of liberation. It's still pounding. He's still living, but like the conditions of things, like the threat of slavery, and then the celebration of the flower capital as well, and this fight. I don't know. I just feel like it's very symbolic, and I wonder if there was a conditions to like reincarnation.
Hmm. I don't know that it's necessarily reincarnation. Like, this is still Luffy.
Yeah, maybe because like he can't hear his voice. If we have Trafalgar like talk about like, oh, is this a new voice? Like if this is Joy Boy's voice, where he's like overridden the vessel for now, like I wonder. I'm very curious, to be honest.
Hmm. I wouldn't, I don't know that that's it. I definitely wouldn't like that. But, I guess, obviously that doesn't have any bearing on what will happen. I would not like to see that. I think this should still be Luffy. I wouldn't like to see a new person, a new character here, or a new personality.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like the impulse, but because like Luffy is like beaten into unconsciousness in like a near death state, I think that like Joy Boy might be like temporarily overriding his body.
Maybe.
And then as it goes on, like Luffy's consciousness like is rekindled, and like there's that element because, you said it yourself, like, oh no, Ace felt this way. That's why I gotta burn you.
Yeah.
So like maybe this is like Joy Boy's impulses kind of driving the body. As, that. But that's cool. I mean, this has been a long time coming, the Joy Boy thing. That's so cool. Like I'm really excited to see the payoff on this.
Yeah, and I don't know. I heard through the grapevine, I guess, that just in certain areas of social media, people were upset about this, and they felt like it was ass pulley, and it's like, yo, if you didn't have a sneaking suspicion that fucking Luffy was Joy Boy, I don't know what the fuck you've been reading, first off. And like obviously there's been a lot of fucking reference to that situation. Like in this arc alone, we've gotten like the Odin stuff. We literally got like Laugh-Tale shit. We literally got One Piece shit, Sun God Nika shit, fucking Joy Boy shit. Like it's all been ramping up to this shit. So I don't know. Like it is, it is the only ass pulley thing about it is that like he got knocked the fuck out by Kaido and now he's getting his awakening, which is kind of weird. But I have faith that Oda could make it make sense, as far as like what happened in this kind of limbo state where Luffy's at right now, Whatever subconscious possibly, interaction he had with Joy Boy, or maybe that'd be interesting if he had like some sort of out of body experience where he meets Joy Boy, previous owner of the fruit, and I don't know. You never know what the fuck could happen. It's Oda, man. But I have faith that he'll make it make sense,
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this. Like the thing is, like even Kaido thought that Luffy was potentially Joy Boy. So like if the guy that's been afraid of Joy Boy, like King was just like, oh, you like King and Kaido were like, you think I'm Joy Boy? You think the world I'm trying to build is gonna be like that? Nah, dude, that ain't me.
Right.
It's like that's there. Like for me, it makes sense. And like we've already had like the Grim Reaper figure with like Zoro, right? So like I kind of want to see the Grim Reaper figure thing with like Joy Boy a little bit. Like I don't know, man. This is a really cool, like I think metaphysically just a very interesting setup. Like I have no idea what this means, but like I'm fascinated to find out.
Yeah. And I think Momonosuke is flying up to Luffy right now. based on like his seemed trajectory on page 16. Seems like he's kind of headed up towards the roof to see what happened up there. Or even like go confront Kaido like Yamato was talking about.
I think so. Like I think he and Yamato are like going off to like fight
And face
Kaido,
death together.
and then they're gonna face death together, and then that's cool because they're gonna face death together. And what if they run into the Grim Reaper standing over Luffy's body and they just strike it down, and then this Joy Boy reincarnation Luffy fusion like rises? That'd be cool. That'd be cool as fuck. Because like Yamato is supposed to be like a protector spirit, like their Okami wolf thing. So like part of me is like, oh yeah, I think this is because they're like a supernatural debate. Their name and like ability are based off a supernatural deity that like could fight an entity like death.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a guardian of life, you know?
Yeah, that could definitely be interesting. But I don't know, I think that's about all I had for this chapter of One Piece.
This is heavy. I like this.
Yeah, I can't wait for next chapter, man. This next chapter is gonna be heat. But yeah, I think that about does it for One Piece, and that will do it for this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did, be sure to slap a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well for more fire-ass weekly content. Make sure you hit us down in the comment section down below. Let us know what you thought of this weekend jump, or if there's anything you thought we missed or anything else, chop it up with us down there. Also, as we said before, please check that description box down below where you can find links to any and all of our individual social media accounts such as Twitter, online communities like Discord, audio listening platforms to consume the podcast on, as well as ways to support the podcast like our online store or our Patreon. And with all those words said, this will be another stupendous episode of the Project Manga Podcast wrapping up. I'm your host, Eagle.
And I'm Mellow Yenis.
Sarabada.